Yeah, CrossPolitic IND like the song. Yeah, Rumble just went down. We'll figure out what's going on.
No, I mean like Rumble's.
The whole Rumble is down?
Yeah.
Like all of Rumble.com is just gone. Wow. We just lost Rumble, which, by the way, was our backup plan in case we lost anything today. And our backup plan just got shot right in the head. So wait, if I go to Rumble.com, it's gone. It's down. All right, hold on.
Yeah, it says it is currently not working.
Oh, snap. They done assassinated Rumble. Conspiracy. You're right, Shane. It is a conspiracy. We know why, because the people want a free voice. Okay, so listen, y'all, listen. We have some backup plans. We don't know if all of them are going to work, but we're going to try our best to make sure that if we go down, because they are out here hunting for us free market folks. And I ain't going to lie, if there's a place I feel like I want to pirate, it's always going to be CNN. Like if I want to pirate I don't consider it pirating, by the way, when it's in this situation. I just consider this what do you call it? Pillaging the Egyptians. This is what we're doing at this point. Yeah. So 3 Rumble. All right, so we're waiting for Gabe to get here, but we got our guy. We got a great setup happening for you guys tonight. I'm thinking this is going to be the most Christian review engagement in all of the internet of tonight's debate, because the only question I always want to deal with, the only question I always want to ask is, what does God say about this? How does God feel about your policy? Are you honoring God in that? Man, we're still having trouble with Rumble. That's insane. I think they shot Rumble. Rumble is dead, y'all. I guess it's time to smoke one of these for the fat lady. She's over. So who's that just popped in? Gabe is here. Finally. Johnny come lately.
No.
Johnny, hold on. No. You better switch that the right way. You better.
There you go.
Hey,
you like that?
Young Flav, what's up, baby? I see you got here. Okay, I see you. Thank you for popping in. He's on YouTube.
Are we live right now?
We are live right now. Yeah, you came in. You think we were going to wait for you before we went live? Yeah, we are live right now.
I mean, that would have been the right thing to do.
Now, the right thing to do was not act like you on color people time. That would have been the right thing to do.
Can you go? Does it go farther?
So let's move. All right. So everybody's still getting lined up.
Back tight. Is that back knob or something? Yeah.
So Greg, we got Greg in the lineup. Gabe, who else did we get to come on the show tonight?
Okay. Bonson's going to come in.
Oh, really?
Don't touch the bed. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, no. Yeah. Bonson's going to come in.
I got to get different clothes if Bonson's coming in.
And then
wow, Gabe. This is.
I know. It's embarrassing. You guys don't know how much. You don't know how hard it was to get even this thing going.
Hey, Pastor Toby, are you a one issue voter?
Let's get this. Me?
No, Pastor Toby.
Are you talking?
What?
Are you a one issue voter? Like right now, I'm looking at all the things that they're thinking they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about national policy.
Don't worry about me.
Oh, is that the one? No. Where is it? It's going to be border security.
You do you.
Of course, you're going to talk about abortion rights. Y'all mute Gabe's mic. Just mute his mic.
Nope, you don't need to anymore. You don't need to anymore. I'm done.
The economy, age and health of the candidates, foreign policy, climate change, healthcare, education. And so I'm wondering, are you like you know what? I just want to know how they feel about life. And if they don't get the life thing right, it doesn't matter.
Well, I've got to have. I mean, there's more going on than just that because, because Trump's not that great on life himself, but he's going to surround himself with a bunch of people that are better than him on life, and so I think there's more issues at stake. But I think that's sort of like that's the bellwether issue. Like if you're just like kill them babies, that they can, all the way up to birth, women's choice, all the rest of it, then I can pretty much bet I know where you stand on most other things.
Gabe?
You got some outliers like RFK, who's pro-choice, but has a little bit more sanity on some of the other issues. But, it's
Oh, James White. Hello, CrossPolitic guys. Ready to debate Hebrews 8 tonight? Just kidding.
Let's go.
No. Dr. White, I just want you to know I am ready to debate you anytime you're ready to debate why you shouldn't debate Dr. White. Now, whenever you're ready to have that debate, we can have that debate. I'm ready to do that one. So, yeah. You get ready for the conference. Hey, Dr. White, let's get him a link, Gabe, and see if he wants to come in on the conversation too.
Let's do that.
Let's
do it. I'll get him a link going.
They're getting the stage ready right now. We are still live streaming. Y'all go share this link. Well, privately, of course. We don't want CNN knowing what we're doing. Hey, our man Greg is here from Dead Man Walking Podcast. Let's put him in the mix. What up?
Buddy.
What is that? A dead fish? What is that?
Oh, no. We got some Country Squire Old Toby tobacco here. We're going to be smoking today.
Hey.
I wish I could smoke in my hotel room and join you.
James White said he can't join us because he has to make dinner. What's up? Dinner?
I text him like, come in for like 2 minutes, Dr. White. Just like 3 minutes.
What? Why can't you come in while you're making dinner?
Yeah, he's afraid to debate.
Is
That's
Dr.
what it
White
is.
barefooting in the kitchen?
Oh, Gabe. Gabe. Oh, no. I don't think this. Dr. White, I say it, Doc. I did not say that. All right. Oh, man. Here we go. They're getting ready, guys. Okay. Biden is going to get all the easy questions. They're going to try. Look, I just want you to know. Look, who said that? Adam said that Biden's going to get all the easy questions. I just want you to know, Adam, that there are no easy questions for Biden. Biden, what's your name? And Trump is look, I just want to bring that up again. He's like, they're going to try and trap Trump. Yes, of course they're going to try and trap Trump. That's all they've been doing since 2016, and Trump is perfectly made to handle traps. I mean, so I'm not surprised. I hope they try and trap him.
Should we let them bring the intro in? Play the intro?
We can bring the intro up if you guys like. Here we go.
Let's go. Don't trip.
Folks, there's nobody there.
He's
no report. There's no reporters in there tonight. They're all across the street.
There's not even an audience, right?
No, it's not even an audience.
No audience, no reporters. And it's on a 7-minute delay instead of a 7-second.
Okay, hold on. While they're bringing these, I want you guys to tell me, what do you think they're not going to say? Like, get the 5 things they're not going to say. I think they're going to say Jesus.
Jesus is Lord.
And let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
Look at Adderall.
Take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of household where the kitchen tables, the things weren't able to be met during the month. It was a problem. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for an insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates. That was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, the bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world.
Wow.
And, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit
they're both
larger than
lying.
any president has in any one term.
Don't forget that
He's
Trump
the only
passed
president
two. Turn it down for a second.
That lost more jobs
I can't
than
listen
he
to
had
Biden.
when he began.
Turn it down for a minute. Don't forget that Trump passed 2 stimulus packages and Biden passed 1. Together, combined, they passed $8 trillion roughly in stimulus packages, which was one of the main drivers of inflation. They both are responsible for inflation. Both the Democrats and the Republicans shut down the economy under COVID. That was the base, that was the foundation driver of inflation that we're experiencing now, and then the stimulus added to it. So they both are in bed on that, and they're lying about it.
Are you done, Gabe? Could you not hold your peace until the commercial?
No, I couldn't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
That doesn't have any, this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Thank you, Justin.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce-back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt.
This is true.
Former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. we took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent. All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration.
Hold on
later
one second.
In this
I just got to ask, wasn't it Trump that was taking full responsibility for Project Warp Speed?
Yeah, and no, he didn't. He never did. He took responsibility that he got the vaccine through.
Right.
He didn't take. He's not taking responsibility for how it's been used and the deaths that it's given to people. The myocarditis, all the heart stuff going on with it.
Yeah, but
go ahead, Greg.
He's here just noting that the thing that he didn't do was mandate it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if he wants to argue about what he set Biden up for, didn't he set him up?
This is why it's not a good argument. Trump and Biden arguing over COVID, the vaccine, and all that. They both did some of the similar problems.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. You got it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's two different sides of the same coin on the COVID stuff. On the consumer economy stuff, though, Trump does have a point because we measure consumer confidence, and the consumer confidence under Trump was far above what Biden has, and that's how people spend money. The economy moves forward. So I understand what Trump's argument is there, saying a better economy. They both spent a lot of money, put us in debt. The vaccine was horrible. But you guys remember 16, 17, and 18. It was wild. I mean, people were going, what business should I start? I got a tax break. I'm buying Bitcoin. It was, the confidence was definitely different.
Yeah, I don't like the terrorist thing either. Okay, let's get back to this before we get too far past it.
President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period.
I know, it's amazing.
Number two, he got $2 trillion tax cut, benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example,
which is good.
We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If
Which
they
is probably still too high.
25%, either one of those numbers. They've raised $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period.
Let's rob them.
We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With
you figure it out,
dealing
Joe.
With
take your
everything
time.
We have to do with.
You got it, buddy.
Look,
you can do it. Oh no!
Oh, he fell asleep. Did he fall asleep?
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
What?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump.
Oh.
This is the first presidential
Wait,
election.
can I just say something real quick?
The Supreme Court overturned.
Oh, Roe v. Wade's coming up. Roe v. Wade's coming up. I got to pause it real quick.
Yep.
I just got to say, Biden just said we want to punish people for living the American dream and becoming wealthy.
That's right.
And so let's raise their taxes by 12%. And let me tell you something else. It's not going to stop there. Look, I'm not a millionaire yet, but I'd like to become one. I don't want to be paying 20% or more than that in taxes by the time I get there. All right. Sorry. All right. Let's get to Roe.
They want to punish the most successful.
And let's not forget, even 1% of an income tax is a form of economic slavery.
Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it.
Wow.
And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected.
That's just populism.
The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby.
He's right.
What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you.
Wow.
President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal. There's a lot of young women being raped by their in-laws, by their
Trump just needs to let him talk.
Brothers and sisters.
Trump should let him talk as long as possible.
It's just ridiculous. And they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most
murder?
dangerous place anywhere in the world.
We're talking about
the
murder.
most dangerous place anywhere in the world. He opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country.
Killers.
And they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states.
But doesn't he believe in the exception of rape?
In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, seven states. I'll let you do that. This is the same topic.
Look at Biden's face.
Have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
Oh, what'd you say, Pastor?
What about the father? No mention of the father.
Well, they mentioned the father. He mentioned the state. He talked about the father. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
My producer tells me to stop pausing it. All right, I'm gonna stop pausing it.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Yeah. Period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border under your watch.
It's working.
Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages.
Making sure
that's
wrong.
The families were separated.
That was Obama.
That's not the right way to go.
Separating babies from mamas is wrong?
I've changed the law. What's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
We made it.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president.
But I didn't say it.
Speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, and his administration, killed an al-Qaeda person come in and his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorists ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Where's Tucker Carlson?
Just one second. He said we killed three people.
I know.
The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the two greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother.
Yeah, but we're doing a better job of killing our own than they are.
This girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved, choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for the D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general. And he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
The 4-star general standing to your side was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. So he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take This was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why?
That's not true.
Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
Oh, man.
Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. So, we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American
troops. That's all he remembers.
Caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute. I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
Acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
I really do believe he would.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I think he could, too.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal.
Yeah.
He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then do you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second.
Let us talk for a minute over
We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together
one of the
spent
things that
$100 billion or maybe
Trump
more than
Biden,
that.
one of the things that both Trump and Biden are kind of playing off of is just our what they think is our ignorance. They're constantly making big statements that they can't even prove themselves, and that they just think, the people are going to believe me or trust me, or the people are going to buy my argument without backing it up. So especially in these foreign wars, we actually, Biden and Trump probably have some sort of intelligence on the ground, but what the American people know is very little. With Ukraine, with Russia, with Gaza, with Israel. So most of the things that they're saying right here is they're playing off our ignorance and our inability to be able to know exactly what's going on the ground there.
I do think though that I think Trump has a point about the way we pulled out of Afghanistan, and it doesn't seem like an accident that the Russia invaded Ukraine almost right after that. I mean, that seems like at least a very, very plausible train of events.
Yep. Trump was the only 4 years in the last 20 where Putin didn't invade someone around him.
That's interesting.
So that should tell you something. We had Georgia, Crimea, you know what I mean? Under Obama. I mean, it was just there's something to talking like that. I would say too, man, you guys talk about this on CrossPolitic all the time, but if let's say like Toby was up there or any one of you three, and you could just actually cut through, when he said, oh, well, abortion up to birth, but it's horrible to take a child away from its mother at the border. And Knox, you said something on that. And you just go, oh my gosh, their worldview is so inconsistent that when you just have a consistent worldview in Christ, you could stand on that debate stage and you could make that joke that Knox made, but it wouldn't be a joke. It would be, how can you be inconsistent on this? And we have none of that in politics, especially with these two guys.
I think one of the things that's really important is like, look, if you don't get the issue of life right, that's kind of like starting. This is why, like, when you're talking to an atheist and you say, and an atheist tells you, I don't believe in truth, we don't have to talk about anything else. Like, we don't, this is why, like, oh, you're a one issue voter. If you don't believe in truth, then everything we say after this doesn't matter. But I know you're lying because you just made a statement about truth. Why you say you don't believe in it? And I've taught my kids to ask, is that true? And so the question from here, the debate is only answering the question of, and this is why I think Dr. White is right. Listen to both these guys talk. To me, it sounds like, oh my goodness, we are under a massive form of judgment. If I have to pick my judgment, I'd rather have Trump. It's still going to be ugly, but it's not Biden. Okay, I'm going to bring this back. Anything else you guys want to say before? Because
go ahead.
All right. Ooh, I need some more alcohol.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
Oh, you have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill.
Oh, stop it.
I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Should be the ones being held accountable, and he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Facts.
What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people.
Get them, Trump.
When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis. What they've done there.
My home.
With the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Good response.
The fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up on Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots? Come on. When I asked him about the first two debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon. At a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important thing.
And about that cocaine.
But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border. Telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that,
quid pro quo.
That's quid pro quo. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor, having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. Well, you want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
Wait a second.
Whoa. Relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong.
Is Joe looking in the mirror?
President's never spoken like that before. No president.
You notice Trump's not looking at
Number three,
Biden at all. Those whole debate.
crimes that you are still charged with. And think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about?
Hey, sex worker.
Well, now it's getting
more
personal.
than an alley cat.
Give your minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official at DOJ into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks.
Where is Biden
than
looking
ever
right
taken
now?
in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Oh, I do
Thank
not
you,
like
President
this.
Trump. President Biden,
ugly.
you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again.
He
and so
died
I
because of
saw what
cancer.
happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said,
His drugs are wearing off, dude.
Yeah.
The ones got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine.
We're going to go to
people on
commercial
both
break here
sides.
soon.
What American president would ever say? Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas. We're fine people. And this is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said.
I'm watching the 2020 debates right now, dude.
Democracy.
Yeah.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous.
And we do know that.
We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor every reasonable anchor has
Even Snopes.
debunked it.
Snopes debunked
and
it.
just the other day it came out where it was fully
You know,
debunked.
Snopes debunks it. It's bad.
A nonsense
Yeah, I know.
story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. The idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people.
All right, let's bring David Bonson in.
Yeah.
David Bonson's ahead. Bring him in right now, and let's mute this.
Yep.
Hey, David. Thanks for coming in real quick. I know it's commercial break on your end. We're catching up. What are your thoughts so far on the debate?
I think my thoughts are the same as everybody's, Gabe. So I mean, I'm following along on Twitter. Like, it's really stunning how bipartisan the consensus is. And it's going to sound like I'm being cute or funny, but there is a real serious part of me that thinks it's just inhuman that they let him continue in this. That I don't believe it's a partisan comment. I am not a President Trump defender. President Biden is not physically or mentally capable of being president. It's just a fact. And it's evidence tonight. It's not because of slowly saying a few things here and there. It's not merely because of saying trillions when you meant to say billions. You know, those things maybe become sound bites, but they're reasonably innocuous. The entire presence, the entire capacity for response is muted the way it often is for people in the early 80s. So my biggest takeaway is not on the substance. It's not on the content. These two guys yelling at each other about who's more fiscally irresponsible is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I thought you might like that, David.
My comment is that President Biden does not look equipped to be the commander-in-chief of our great country.
David, do you think, what do you think his team is thinking? I mean, do you think don't you think that they would recognize that?
Of course. And I think that all they can do is play the cards that are on the table. There is no real good option here. It may very well be the kind of thing that we can all say to each other over and over again. Why did he run? Why did he run? Why did they let him run? But that's unhelpful at this point. And so now they're stuck with no real good option. And we'll see how things go here in the second half of the debate.
David, I just wonder really quick, if we're stuck with Trump, what do we need to be doing to have a candidate maybe in the next 4 to 8 years that is somebody who we could say, okay, finally, we're back to normal?
So in 30 seconds, you want me to give you the plan for how we do this right in the next 40 years?
You're articulate.
Look, David, it's a very fair question, one that I happen to have thought we would do better at answering for this particular cycle, but I do not believe most of my conservative friends agree with me on this. I think we generally get the candidate we deserve, and in order to get a candidate we deserve that you and I would like, I believe we need to work on deserving a better candidate.
That's a great answer. I believe you. I'm with you on that one, brother.
I know David wants to watch the debate, so let's let him run.
All right.
Back to it.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you, brother.
Love you guys.
Love you too,
David.
brother. Thank you. Oh, man. All right. Yeah,
Are we skipped ahead, Knox?
No, we're behind because we were talking over the debate, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to get us to
Star Wars Oreos.
We can skip the other stuff. All right, it's coming back. Here we go.
All right,
we're going to catch up.
That Star Wars Oreo commercial looked pretty good.
Turn it back up.
See, black families still than white
Toby's
families.
takeaway, the Oreo
Black mothers
commercial.
are still 3 times
You guys
more
hear it?
likely
You guys hear everything?
related
Okay.
causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
Yeah,
They
Biden.
acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter
Number
is
one.
more small black businesses that have been started than any time
He
in
got a
history.
new injection at break.
Number 2.
The streets ain't
wages of
saying that, Biden.
Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number 3, we find housing for black Americans.
He got that new
And
Adderall
dealing with
injection at
segregation that
commercial break.
exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half.
This is so
We've got to make
demeaning.
sure we provide for child care costs. We've got to make sure, because when you provide that child care
Go
protection,
pay for your babies.
you increase
I guess
economic growth.
if they're the father,
People, we got your
in the
babies.
job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more
Black
to be
people
done.
don't know how to care for their
We've
babies
done a
now.
great deal so
Question was
far.
about
I don't know
incarceration,
if they know
too.
it.
You have 49
Good
seconds
reminder.
left.
Let's
What
see
do
what
you
Trump
say to
said.
black
49 seconds.
voters who are
seconds.
disappointed
Look at
with the
his face.
progress so far?
I said I
He's
don't
like,
believe
crap, I
to be
can't keep going.
inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family first-time home buyer should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home, so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation
Can't do it by themselves.
all those black families and those black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest was forgiven after 10 years.
Don't forget Biden said this up on the screen.
And we're going to do a whole lot more.
Don't vote for me.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody.
Not more than abortion.
It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs.
I'm trying to figure it out right now.
But you're going to see something
I'm trying to go through the Rolodex
like black job.
That's just as demeaning.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance.
That's a real quote from Biden.
The ACA has we made sure that there's
I hope black people see how much they're trying to play us to get their
family.
Oh, this is
get written
horrible.
off for health care.
But you know what? White people up next.
Brutal in the comments.
White people up next.
Brutal in the comments.
Again, and they're going to try again if they win. You
The comments are crazy.
In a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has.
More police?
We're providing for equity and making sure people
They're playing off your ignorance. I mean, both Trump and Biden are playing off your ignorance.
There's a lot going on.
Yes.
But in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent
None of
challenge
these guys can fix inflation.
crisis.
They didn't let Trump respond.
2023 was the hottest year in recorded history.
Oh, no, not climate.
The country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes,
2023.
and
Look at the stats. 2023 was not
Former
the hottest
President
year.
Trump
What did she say? What did she say the hottest year in the recent
climate
history?
initiatives,
Yeah.
but will you take any
say?
action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group.
Third person.
And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina.
Black guy.
He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country. Opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever.
Go back and read the Moynihan report. Every time the government has gotten involved with helping black people, we've gotten worse. And I'm sorry, white people, they're looking to destroy you too.
He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs. And it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
Ouch. Ouch.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever.
Wow.
And we were using
water.
all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges.
No wonder
they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories.
Oh, well, thank you, Massa.
Any black student is capable in college of doing
They don't have
what
internet.
Can
they
do.
don't know how to use
They
internet.
just have the money, but now they'll be able to get those.
They certainly can't get an
jobs
ID.
in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is
not smart enough. I don't know.
to have done something that had the cleanest water. He hadn't done a damn thing for the environment.
I just want to point out
clean water to baptize more babies, though.
I agree with that. I do agree with that, but I don't want the government, the one who's concerned about how clean my water is.
Yeah,
it's not their job
We're
to take care of my environment in my city.
Right, we're depending on the government to worry about how clean our water is.
It cost us $1 trillion.
It's insane.
And China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country.
I don't want you to take care of me. They're taking over our schools,
our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security.
The paternal attitude of these two is astounding. They want to be your mama. They want to be your papa. They want to be your health care. This is insane.
Of consequence, we're not members of.
I love what Brian just said. He said we are electing a savior.
We've not able. The United States can't get us under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress.
Thank you, Brian.
By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people will learn how to deal with climate, just like
I swear he's reading text off his eyelids or something. They got some kind of CIA eye contact in there. Look the way he looks.
But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
Wow.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I've been proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000 after that.
He's saying that's what they do now.
To pay their fair share.
That's not true.
Wait.
All these tax numbers are a lie.
Pay your fair share.
Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help?
You still have a minute and a half left, Biden.
Is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is we're in a situation where I talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 towards the tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where
he's all over the map.
These millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country
long to
and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why
Are we sure there's not an avatar of Biden up there? Is that why there's nobody allowed in the room? An AI avatar is just talking?
Better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child for many families.
I just got to say this.
Notice. Turn it down. Let's talk.
Okay. I just got to say this. Go ahead, Gabe.
What would you do?
I was just going to say, just turn it down for a minute while we talk here. And again, child care is actually an amazing example of what I want to point out here. Look at all the topics that they're addressing where there's some sort of paternal.
Yep. Come on, that's what I was going to hit
lawless, civil government. God did not give the civil government these authorities. Listen to this. I've been writing them down as it's been going along. Paternal, basically we're debating the best paternal president here. They talked about the environment, COVID, insulin, Social Security, child care. Blacks can't. What was he saying? Blacks can't pay for their own school. Blacks can't pay for this. It's just a big paternal debate right now.
Well, and Gabe, I just wanted so Jesus in the New Testament talks about the fact of Korban. And he says those people who are, Pastor Toby, I should let you talk about this because you do it so well. Those people who are not taking care of their parents are in violation of the fifth commandment and deserve the death penalty.
Yeah.
And here we are dealing with the issue of not being able to take care of our parents and then dealing with our children. I mean, this is astounding to me. It is our responsibility as individuals to say, my mom and dad we're going to take care of them. We're going to provide for them. They are going to pass down for our next generation the cultural posterity of our family. And instead, the government is arguing back and forth on how they are going to pay for all of this. And so as much as we are mad at Joe Biden, as much as we are mad at Donald Trump in one sense, there is a massive sense of responsibility that is on us that we've neglected to embrace fully. And so now we're at the mercy of these slave masters because we won't take responsibility. Pastor Toby, I'll give it to you, and then I'll go to you, Greg.
I just wish, I mean, if they ask the question, I wish somebody would say something like, I'm going to sign an executive order and I'm going to make minimum wage illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would actually be something that a government could do to make child care more affordable. You know, make minimum wage illegal. It's free market. You can work for whatever wage you want. And so if a daycare wants to offer $5 an hour, suddenly you let the free market go and child care prices go down.
That would actually kickstart the bottom end of the economy like you don't even know.
Well, black people would be more successful in America even more than they are right now.
We would all be more successful. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, like, if that's what their biggest concern is black people, then, that would have fixed it for us.
Yeah.
All right. I'll let this go back up because there's so much I want to say. Oh, child care more affordable. Yes.
Oh, here we go.
We have polling. We have other things.
It's not your job to make child care more affordable.
It's so bad. And they rate me. I'll show you. I will show you. And they rate me one of the best. Okay. And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $40,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming into the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that were imported.
But then he's going to raise the tax on the guys who make. Okay.
He talks about how he has not raised. He somehow helped the middle class. The middle class has been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are at the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up.
I hate this topic.
Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come.
Look, the tariff thing is horrible. When you decide to buy a vehicle, why does the government need to get involved between you buying a vehicle from somebody from another country? It's a private deal between the two of you guys.
Let's talk that after the show.
Allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden.
I wonder why, though.
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues and said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thaned you, President
People
Biden. President Trump, and
he's
again,
saying
the
we need
question is
X-ray
about
machines at the border.
Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, because this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say a hostage. Now we have a hostage, the Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized as being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 50 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America.
50 billion new jobs?
Over billions of dollars in private investment.
Is that what he just said?
In enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people. The whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. we're the envy of the world. Like, name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done.
That's not helpful.
We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, who he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public.
In case you were wondering.
None. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it.
Best there ever
but
was.
I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
I'd watch that.
I think I'm in very good shape.
I'd watch the golf match.
As in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen
Biden
anybody
I aced mine.
Thank you.
No, well.
President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds.
What?
Well, he's 6'4", 200.
What?
Well, anyway, that's what anyway.
What just happened?
What just happened?
Look at what he is.
What just happened?
I'd be happy to have a driving
hitting on Trump?
with him.
I don't get it.
I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
They're talking about golf scores right now, guys. The world is burning, and they're talking about golf scores.
Trump's laughing. Trump's laughing.
That's the biggest lie that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap. 8. But I had
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
Let's not act like children.
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
concerns that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation.
Not without Price, we won't.
And we're a failing nation because of him.
Amen.
His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all, and required response. The idea the idea. I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever.
I love this from Jason. From golf to World War III. Here we go.
And, you asked me a question before.
That's
would you
right.
do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were president.
The question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless
I just got to say, while she's talking, I just got to say this real quick. I hope everybody is going to Armor Republic, getting you some body armor, getting you some more ammo, and buying a few extra guns after this debate, because that's all I ever want to do.
Conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all.
Stealing.
And I'll tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN.
Joe, something snapped in you when you woke up this morning.
All right, commercial. All right, Toby. We got commercials here. Toby, what are you thinking right now?
This is absolutely nuts. The answers, it's crazy. We just went from, what are you going to do about the opioid crisis? And Trump cited his dogs. And Biden said he's got machines. So dogs and machines.
Yep.
And then we went to a golf argument.
Yep.
Who had the better handicap, and who can drive the ball. And then we went to World War III.
Yep.
It is kind of hilarious.
Pastor, what are you drinking right now? Because you probably need to make it a double.
I'm drinking LaCroix.
What?
LaCroix.
LaCroix. There's no alcohol in that.
LaCroix.
Oh, that. Okay, there we go. All right. I was going to say. So
I got a barrel proof Texas bourbon. It's killing it. This is really good stuff. I bought you guys the cheaper version of this before because that's all they have in Idaho. But this is the barrel proof, very strong, very great, rich flavor.
you only ever buy us the cheaper stuff, right?
Well, that's all they have in Idaho. They don't sell the barrel proof in Idaho. So
Greg,
that's all we get.
you're sitting here. This is the first time you've done as much with us in one show. What's your thoughts on all this, man?
I'm a little disappointed. This feels like 2020 again overall. Biden's mumbling through stuff and then Trump really not attacking the issues that he's supposed to be.
That's good.
He was much more bombastic. I mean, he called names, pointed out stupidity, hypocrisy in 16. That's what got him there. Now he's got 4 years that he's got to run on, so it's a little bit different. But it's underwhelming, really. And then just like you guys pointed out, the state being your God. It's like we want to be, you want to be omnipotent, excessive laws, omnipresent, spy state, cameras, privacy, Jehovah Jireh, your provider, welfare state, Jehovah Rapha, we're a healer, Medicaid. We're gonna, it's like it goes on and on. Like every attribute of God, the state wants to be, and it's disgusting.
Oh, all right. Here we go. I think we're coming back to this. I'm gonna get us back in there, man. There's so much I want to say after that.
I think we've still got some time.
Dude,
or are you skipping ahead?
I'm skipping ahead because I think they're there. But I'm gonna move back a little bit.
Okay.
Here we go. We're coming back.
Right.
I'm just gonna say I think we need to go buy more ammo, more body armor from Armor Republic, more guns.
Go to Patriot Mobile.
Yeah.
Tell them CrossPolitic sent you.
Yep. So, all right, let me get this back up here. Here we go.
Yep.
Don't forget your cigars at $16.89 too.
$16.89. You're gonna need some tobacco. You're gonna need some tobacco.
Bullets and tobacco, baby.
Jonah Goldberg is there.
Liberal.
Keep skipping. Hey, you skipped all the way to the end of the interview.
Wait, I did? I don't think so. Yeah, Jonah Goldberg.
He's part of that panel.
That's not the end of the debate, though, right?
Well, you might have skipped to the. I think you did. This is them chalk talking.
Yeah, that's all that was there. Oh man.
You didn't. Oh, how do we get closing comments?
I want to get closing comments.
I think you skipped too far ahead.
Dude, I didn't skip. It just did its own thing. It just skipped it for me. It did its own thing. Let me see if I can get back to the beginning. Yeah.
Of course, Daniel bought a gun this week.
Yeah.
Daniel, smart man.
He buys a gun every other week.
How did our guy get an invite? Jonah Goldberg get an invite to be on the CNN panel? I want to know that.
The debate is back. Hey, the debate is back. Somehow he got on the wrong video, man.
I don't know how that happened.
That's what Daniel Fukushima just said. Go get out of YouTube.
What does Daniel know? Daniel doesn't know anything. Hold on. Let's see.
Hey, yeah, you just mute everything and let's chalk talk some more.
There we go. Here, hold on. We'll just pick back up here.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
That was it?
Watched as a nation.
I guess we missed Biden's closing remarks.
They're chatting about it on Twitter. I mean, apparently it was very special.
I can't rewind any more past that. That's all it's giving me.
That's too bad.
But you know what, though?
Foul.
Hold on.
Crisis. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country.
No!
We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing.
Okay, so that's all I got from Biden. So I can't go back any further than that. That's all I got. I don't know what happened to my stream.
I think you got most of it. It just popped up for a second while we were still talking.
I just want to say this. Y'all are welcome. Y'all are welcome that you didn't have to listen to the rest of that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Right,
I did you a favor.
Go ahead in our audience. Make sure you guys ask questions. We'll be able to get to them. I already want to get to a question from Mike Hughes. We'll get to that in a minute on minimum wage. But one of the things I want to point out here, what's amazing about social media is that we can actually talk through a debate like this. And when you do that in the moment, you hold them accountable. When you do that in the moment, we're allowed not to let them get away with their either lies or subterfuge or not answering the question. And it's actually social media, I think, and what we're able to do with live streaming is going to change the nature of debates in a real way, because it used to be that CNN, ABC, or the debate, whoever was on stage could control the topic and the dialogue, and we're all siloed in our houses at home. We can't have the discussion. We can't have the debate. We have to listen to them. We can't even respond. But now we can talk in the comments with one another. Now we can respond live to, thousands of people. We're at 3,000 people or so live streaming to right now. And so I think social media is changing the nature of debates. CNN thinks they're changing the nature of debate by giving the mute button. Social media is changing the nature of debate by actually being able to call out in real time what's going on.
Pastor, would you please make it clear to everybody that you're not in a restroom?
I'm not in the restroom.
Thank you. I just want to.
If that's the way he uses the bathroom, we're in big trouble.
Everybody's a little concerned that you might,
What restroom has a shelf with books and a picture of Stonewall Jackson?
Well, you could be different.
A godly man's restaurant.
Yeah. Okay, Pastor Tubb, you got notes. What do you have over there?
Well, I was just going to say, I think one of the big takeaways here is, I'm going back to what we asked David Bonson about, but Joe Biden is absolutely exhausted. He is ancient. He is an elderly man, and I think you're very much in sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of moment. If they refuse to do the debate, then everybody's accuses him of avoiding the conversation because he's too old and senile,
right?
And so he's got to do it, but he does that, and he looks like he is way too old for this job.
Well, and to be honest, to your point, Toby, I think the Democrats think that Biden was satisfactory for them tonight. They think Biden did not freeze up. I mean, he froze up in some small ways.
Wasn't a bad.
He froze up a couple times, but it was nothing significant. And I think the Democrats, had a close one there.
Well, I think a number of Nicholas Kristof is a New York Times columnist, liberal. He writes, "I wish Biden would reflect on this debate performance and then announce his decision to withdraw from the race, throwing the choice of Democratic nominee to the convention. Someone like," here's real funny, "Gretchen Whitmer or Sherrod Brown or Secretary Raimondo could also jump in and beat Trump."
Dude, no, I got the Gretch out here in Michigan. We do not need her anywhere near the White House. But here's what's going on. So when you say Democrats, his performance, why would they run him? I've been in meetings with people who are movers and shakers within the two parties, and they basically had this conversation. They went, look, in 2020, no one thought we could win. We put him up. He was mumbling then. He won. Let him run again. And they say this to the Gavin Newsoms and all the guys that want to run. Let him run again. You support him. You'll have our full support in 4 years. If Trump happens to win, then you've got 4 years worth of stuff to run on in 2028. And they just go, okay, we'll just bide our time then. So you've got 20, 30 guys that think they could be president and take Joe Biden's spot, and they're just waiting in the wings. And they don't care about anything in America that's good or bad. They just care about when is it my time to take power. And that's the real sad thing. And it's elder abuse is what they're doing. All the people around him, essentially Joe Biden's team is Obama light. 3/4 of his cabinet is Biden's cabinet. Yeah, Obama has not moved out of D.C. He's running that campaign. So it's like it's elder abuse from the fact of there's people who crave power so bad that they went, yeah, just throw him up there, and even if he doesn't win, it'll work out good for us in 4 years.
Gabe,
Knox, you said at one point, I want you to develop this. You said tariffs are terrible. You were going after Trump on that.
Yeah, I think that. So one of the things that it took me a while to understand, but mercantilism doesn't really help American companies develop really well, especially companies that can get things at better prices. So one of the reasons that you have tariffs is because you want to be able to control the market and say, listen, if you're a company and you don't buy things from American-made people, then we're going to charge you more on the other side of it if you get it from out of country. Right. And so it penalizes a company and says, look, you can only buy American made. But that's not how a free economy works. A free economy works when I can find the best deal to create the largest amount of margins that satisfies the customer's ability to say this is a good product. Now, when the government says, well, you're buying too much of that from other countries or outside of America, it doesn't matter what country, but outside of America, and then they say, we're going to put a tariff on it so that you have to pay more for it. What they're doing is controlling the market and putting their finger on the scale. Now, what they end up doing ultimately is penalizing the individual who you're selling to, who could obviously get it at a cheaper price if you were able to make the best deals on the back end where you are. But the government says, no. If you're bringing that in and you're not supporting the people who are making it here, then we're going to penalize you for that. That's controlling the market. Look, if Americans can make great things, I'll buy it and sell it at whatever value. But if somebody else can make the same thing at the equal price, and I can make or less price for me and I can make more money off it, why can't I choose not to do business with that person? But when the idea of America first, they think America first only means, well, you buy American. No, American first is about the individual who buys from another individual, right? Can they get it at a good value, at a good price that benefits them? And so, what were you going to say, Gabe?
Go ahead, Gabe.
I was just going to add to that. I was actually just talking to, we had David Bunsen on earlier. I was just at dinner with him tonight. And he said, if you think taxing foreign trade, tariffs, if you think that is going to do anything to inflation or to better consumer interests, you need to go back to middle school economics class.
Facts.
The taxing, all you're doing. So the problem of what we think we're doing is that we are taking taxes and removing it, let's say, from over here, income tax, whatever. And then we're going to, rearrange that tax to tariffs over here. And we aren't making anything better. And in the end, especially when it comes to foreign goods coming to our country, the only reason why foreign goods come into our country is because there's an economic exchange, a free economic exchange that makes it realistic, that makes it viable, and that makes it cheaper for citizens. That's the only reason why this happens. Is because it's actually cheaper for China to ship over their electronics than us to build them ourselves. Who loses in that transaction?
But I just want to say too exactly. But part of the thing is with tariffs is that it doesn't stop at foreign trade, right? If they're willing to penalize them out there, do you not think they're willing to penalize you in here? And here's a way that we don't think about it: minimum wage. You now have to pay your employee far above what the value of the product is that you're making.
Yep.
So now you're not paying the employee based off the value of the product. Say, I can afford you to make this product for this price. When I have to pay you $15 to $20 or $30 or let's say 40 to 50% above what the product makes, then now the person who has to buy this product has to invest that much more.
Yeah, pay more.
You got to pay more.
So this is Knox. So this is actually a question from Daniel Hughes. He asked it in the comment section. So I want
Greg. I want Greg to jump in here real quick before we move to that. Greg,
just real. Okay. Oh, go ahead. Oh, just real quick on the tariffs. First of all, the game that they're playing is the same game they play with taxes. We have an uneven tariff, so they go, instead of dropping the tariff to 0, let's raise it so everyone's the same, right?
Right.
Because for years and years and years on the auto industry, I live 45 miles south of Detroit, big auto industry back in the day. They didn't have any. They had a 70% tariff on American cars that went over to Europe, and we had a 0% tariff here. So why do you think Toyota and Mazda and Nissan in the 70s, 80s, and 90s are now in the top 5 manufacturers of car makers? Because they were much, much cheaper for consumers to buy because we weren't tariffed. But over there, Ford wasn't expanding only until recently, the last 5 years. So that's one thing. I say all the way to 0. But the other side of that is it's also very tricky because we have business owners that now sell globally.
Right.
So
right.
you got to realize that the guy who's making razors, he might be selling 2 million of those in China, and they're going, oh, on American goods, we're 40% tariff. We wouldn't want that. So what do we do? We say, well, 40% on China then to even it. Yeah. So either we go both 40 or we're both 0. But that'll never happen in politics, unfortunately.
Let me add to this real quick.
That was Trump's point. Yeah, good
tariffs. One reason why tariffs are a debate or even a thing, or let me actually pose the situation, the conversation this way. One reason why foreign goods are able to come into our country and compete, let's say, with our DVDs or our VCRs or whatever, whatever you can think of, whatever foreign good comes into our country, it's coming to our country because it's becoming economically viable. One of the reasons why it's becoming economically viable is because no one talks about this point. It's becoming economically viable because of all the regulations our nation puts on our own current manufacturers.
Facts. That's the main point.
The minimum wage.
All right, now you're preaching.
Wage, the regulations, all these things, and so they actually make it more expensive for our companies to produce, electronics than it does in China. And then so we have to. It's a never-ending cycle. So we have to raise tariffs over here. We have to raise tariffs over here for this country to ship goods in because we've already raised the cost to produce goods here in our country, and we think we're leveling the playing field when actually we're only screwing the poor in the middle class.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're exactly right. And you know why, Gabe? Because look at 2017 when Trump came in and the 2-for-1 regulation. Every one new regulation, 2 taken back. Even if it didn't have the actual physical effect, it had the confidence of the consumer and the business owner going, "Oh, I'm freer to do what I need to do to make a profit and provide," and that's why the economy skyrocketed. So you're absolutely right on that.
I just want to bring up, Pastor. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead, Pastor. You were going to say something.
No, just that last point that Greg was making a minute ago was, I think, part of what Trump is saying, and I don't know his whole policy, and I'm jumpy about tariffs too, and I'm very skeptical. But I think the point that Greg was making there at the end, which was that if they are currently taxing our exports, I think Trump is sort of saying, well, then we're going to tax your imports. Maybe not in an effort to actually have tariffs, but in an effort to get them to drop them in order to actually create a more.
That's the point. That's what he did. And they did drop them on some stuff. China went, hey, we need to do something here because we need you to consume. And he said, okay, I'll lower if you lower. And that's how you have to negotiate sometimes with a communist state.
Right. So that was my point. Just saying, I think there's maybe a tactical move there that could be prudent. But I also think you're absolutely right. We're shooting ourselves in the foot because we have all these regulations making our own homegrown goods so expensive to make.
Why do we need the government to do that for us? Because wouldn't the market work itself out anyway?
If we didn't have any home regulations, yes.
Right.
So all the regulations at home, then yes, we could win.
Knox, let me add here. I think to that point, I have to think through this more. Toby just brought up a point I haven't really considered. But what if we have a truly free market here in America, no regulations, no minimum wage, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And let's say we're producing, DVD players at a fair, equitable way. No,
what is
no
a DVD player?
He's hooked on DVD and VCR players tonight, man.
I know. Isn't that great? I was going to say beta, but I laid off that one.
8 tracks.
And let's say China wants to compete with us. And so what they do, the government says, I want to take down that industry in America. And so the government comes in and says, hey, we're going to reduce the cost of manufacturing by juicing using the juice from the government to come in and lower wages or lower the production cost of DVDs and ship them over to the U.S. to take out the industry in America. So some sort of kind of economic warfare.
They do that now.
They do that now. And so I might
slave labor.
Try to. Greg, you aren't helping me, man. So I would want to try to maybe think through how I let a foreign nation come in and unlawfully, because I could say slave labor is illegal. I can say these things because I have a standard in Christ, and that they are breaking God's law and trying to come in and mess up our economy because there's some sort of economic warfare going on. I would want to figure out maybe some sort of play there, I think.
Yeah, but
is that kind of an example that you're kind of thinking about in the back of your mind when you make that point?
Yeah. I think it's just the point that Greg made earlier, which is just that, we are I think it's happening now, which is just that I think other nations frequently are taxing us. They're putting tariffs on our exports, and so limiting our ability for our businesses to grow. I think the root thing you've already touched on, which is just we should kill all the regulation, but to make it as inexpensive as possible to make our goods and services and export them wherever we want. But I do think that, there is a economic warfare going on, but I think you have to just be careful because you give the government an inch and they take a mile.
Right.
And I think I'd much rather have a whole lot of free markets that work things out over time than the government stepping in and putting their finger on the scale constantly, because one thing leads to another thing leads to another thing.
But you have to think through one of the principles here is that Americans have constitutional rights. China does not have our constitution.
Right.
Well, and that's what other thing I was going to say too. Go ahead.
It's the same thing with climate change and everything else. They don't care.
Yeah, Gabe's frozen for some reason. His hotel internet is not treating him right. I got a text message from my guy Marcus Pittman who just said that CNN is calling for Biden's removal. Don't miss this on the CP show. They just said that the candidacy has fallen. Pray for his advisors. They do the right thing. There's a new plan that must be put in place.
What? CNN is saying that?
I'm going to CNN right now because I don't believe it.
There was rumors going around that they took all the reporters out because there was going to be a medical emergency, but of course that was just internet rumors. It didn't happen, but see it.
That's insane. Hold on, let me see what they got going on.
Is it true?
The race for the White House. I'm guessing Marcus. I mean, I trust that Marcus is right, but I'm gonna try. We'll see what happened with Gabe. Here goes. You guys hearing this?
Trump. You want to know what Donald Trump showed up? The one that I get to see every weekend at a rally because I watch Donald Trump. I listen to Donald Trump. He didn't have to make it up because that's what he's been saying. And it's been good enough for over 40, 50%, maybe 50% of the American people. Joe Biden had a difficult task tonight. And that was to tell the American people, give the narrative. Here's what I'm doing. And here's what I plan to do over the next 4 years. Instead, I think he was trying to fact check. And I believe it was a missed opportunity, but he scored a lot of singles, and you'll see a lot of pundits, including some of my colleagues on the DNC, that will be a little nervous. I'm not nervous. I know Joe Biden.
Okay.
He'll come back.
Now, this is the most racist thing I've never seen ever on CrossPolitic. Look at this comment right here. Where's this comment at? Hold on.
Knox, I think you're on ABC.
That's okay. They all say the same thing anyway.
Is she related to Knox?
Is she related to Knox? Look at this ignorant comment right here.
People know each other?
Hey, look at this. Now, I tell you right now, if that ain't some white boy summer bull crap, my goodness. Hey, y'all all the same, ain't you? Doggone. All right, let me take that out.
On CNN, they are saying, like, they're panicked.
Oh, are they? Well, look at God. Don't tell me God won't do it. Let me go find it. Hey, where are my producers at? I need some CNN stuff real quick. So, Pastor, what?
Steve McDonald Knox is black?
Okay, another ignorant comment right there. Not to see my blackness, boy, I tell you.
Building a whole world for the millions of people watching.
Particularly on some of the most basic subject matters that President Biden should have been able to just...
That world that he was able to build, it was not knocked down by the president. That is really at the heart of the problem. He may have won when he was making his discrete policy points, but part of the job on the debate stage is dealing with an opponent like Donald Trump, who goes like a mile a minute on things that are not true. And if you don't deal with that,
Abby.
I don't know if no one at home is doing that.
All I want to say is I'm not sure. I don't think you're giving viewers enough credit. I think what they saw was the Trump that they didn't like. And I don't think he did himself a great service to them.
I also think we should let voters absorb this and see what they say, right? Let's look at the dials. Let's look at where they are next week. We can make our pronouncements, but ultimately voters have to absorb it.
They're going to turn your mics off, guys.
Real quickly, on the one thing that,
David Axelrod is de-evolving into a baby bird.
Okay, am I the only person who's happy that CNN is panicking right now?
So what I was pulling up was MSNBC, and this gal saying that she was privy to a bunch of Democrats messaging during the debate, and she says that they're in panic mode.
Sure,
it
should be.
Okay, our producers are back here having a blast with I don't know what, but I'm gonna look at the comment threads right now because I think something about my blackness is being a joke. Anyway. Do you think this is when they pull the line? Everybody's been saying, debate night in America, VP Kamala Harris. When is that? Kamala Harris is coming up next. We can't miss that, guys. I don't know about you, but I got to see what the VP says. What she has to say is going to be so important. What was I going to say? This is terrible attempt at moderate.
The only chance that Kamala Harris has to become president is if Biden dies.
Gets
There's
JFK?
no way she's electable. Beyond that.
Oh no.
So
that's why they didn't. That's why they didn't push him aside. Is her numbers are worse than Joe's.
Yeah.
David Bonson just texted me and he said that was much worse for Biden than I expected.
But. Do you think, okay, so there's been a thing been set in place that they're expecting to remove Biden, and do you think this is a part of the play to remove him and to put somebody else in place for the election? Because that's what they've been trying to find the moment to do. Everybody sees it's bad. Nobody thinks it's good. Sources say what?
Listen, I'm going to tell you guys something right now. I have a personal friend who is the lead attorney for a very famous senator. If I said his name, you'd know who it is. And we text back and forth all the time. And he said a year ago, the party leaders in the DNC were going, we need Michelle Obama. We don't want Biden. And she will not do it. She said, 2028, I'll do it. When after Trump wins, I'm not going to do it. So this has been going on for a long time. This isn't like the last 6 months. I went, we need to replace him. A year and a half ago when we were having this conversation, he lives in D.C. Like I said, lead counsel for a senator you'd know. And he's going, I'm in these conversations all the time. None of the DNC leaders wanted Joe Biden to rerun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a switcheroo. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? That'd be the greatest upset ever. That would be a smart thing. You got a brand new candidate. You would have 24/7 coverage. Could you imagine if Michelle Obama or someone like that in that party came? Oh, by the way, it's Biden stepping aside. He wants her to have her time. It would be nonstop until November coverage. And Trump would probably lose.
You think so?
I think so.
If Michelle Obama was put in place?
Oh my gosh. You know how many white evangelical women love Michelle Obama?
It's true.
They're out there in a pyramid scheme, posting their misinterpreted Bible verses and their Instagram inspirational quotes, and they love Michelle Obama, and they love she would win. She'd get the female vote.
Yeah.
You agree with no white female women had voted in the last 30 years, we wouldn't have a Democrat president.
How come you white man can't control your women?
But enough about David French.
Mic drop.
Are you serious?
What do I know?
Well,
I'm just theorizing.
Greg is right. I think
really, Pastor? Okay, go ahead.
No, if she jumped in, I think Trump wouldn't have a chance.
It would reinvigorate. Oh my gosh!
Reinvigorate.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Biden debate.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, the Dems would go crazy. But I don't know. Do you think they would this late though? Do you think they would do it? You think they would replace them?
Well, I'm just looking at what's on the screen right now on CNN, and they're saying themselves that it's hard to think that Biden should be our nominee. Listen to this.
And President Biden, who delivered an address on the anniversary of January 6th and said that Donald Trump was holding a dagger to the throat of democracy, did not seize on that moment and did not take that.
So can I just for a moment, because we can hear him, and this is happening right now. So I just in this moment, he's at a watch party. They're cheering 4 more years. He's speaking. What I'm curious about, okay, is does he know how bad this was at this moment? He walked out to his
Good.
You can hear him a little bit on the mic.
He doesn't know. That's more alarming than anything. He's not the first president who's had a really.
Since we can hear it, why don't we listen to a little bit of it? Okay.
Oh my!
Head to North Carolina. All right. Thank you.
Does he have a DJ behind him?
I want to go home with you. Thank you.
I want to go home with you?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
DJ Snippy.
DJ, giving the mic back to.
All right, so there he is. Thank you. The rousing applause going to that party.
Let's get out of here.
Third that vibrant or vigorous inside the debate body.
Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally, I think a lot of Americans saw Donald Trump they recognized tonight, right? His mannerisms, his quickness in his response, and as you talked about, lies and information that was incorrect. Unfortunately, they also saw a Joe Biden maybe they don't recognize. This is not the person who was quick on his feet.
Something's happening here.
This is insane.
To respond quickly,
CNN is bought and paid for. They would not be talking this way unless they know something or they're pushing towards an agenda. Something is going to happen.
This is insane. I mean, the Democrat. One of the things I know about the Democrats is that they stick together. They do not break up. And if they all are going this direction, and that's where all the talking points are right now.
Yep.
Something's happening behind the scenes.
Bro, Greg, if we get Michelle Obama, I'm coming. I'm going to toilet paper your house, bro.
I didn't say it, dude. I didn't. No.
No, the thing is that if it is true that Michelle Obama, and I've heard the same thing, Michelle Obama is not interested.
Yeah.
Then that means that what you're likely to get, though, is like a Gretchen Whitmer or a Gavin Newsom or somebody like this that I don't think will galvanize the base like a Michelle Obama would.
Right. I'm saying Michelle, for the Dems, that she would be their best candidate.
Right. But if she's not interested, then they might, and they have to replace Biden with somebody. I think if there's a pretty good chance that you end up with somebody who maybe doesn't have as good a chance against Trump.
Agreed. That's a good point.
Are y'all happy with Trump right now?
I mean, no. I mean, I still.
Gabe, who are you texting? Gabe, who are you texting? Why are you texting right now?
I mean, you don't want to know who I was texting.
Tell Michelle that you're busy.
Oh my gosh!
You'll know who I'm texting if he comes into the show. Let me just put it that way.
All right.
I think Gabe was right when he pointed out he was a populist, and when he started answering the abortion question and everything, you can see straight through it. You were exactly right.
Well, I want to hear from the comments. People who are watching this? We got 3,200 people watching right now. I want to hear from you. Are you happy with Trump right now, and why? I want to see a problem. Trump is not the guy either. Yeah, Shane, I feel you. I want to see it on the comments. I want to know if you guys are happy with Trump right now. If you are happy with Trump, please, I want to take one thing off the table for you to talk about. It can't be because you just don't want Biden. Give me another reason. Give me a positive.
Well, I'll jump in. I mean, he was actually, coherent on some issues. I think some of the stuff on foreign policy is reasonable. His point about Putin, he did not lose any He didn't allow Putin to invade anything in Europe while he was president. That was a reasonable statement, true as far as I know. His point about unchecked immigration, I think I don't know what Trump is going to do because he didn't do as much as he said he was going to do the first time around. But I think he hit that.
You see, he's coming here. Heath Sanders says, happy? No. Comfortable? Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the statement that really surprised me was kind of his, I'm going to make Mexico build a wall and pay for it. That statement tonight was, if elected, I'll end the war in Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia by the time I get into office. I was like, okay, that's kind of like old Trump there talking big. And I don't know. I haven't seen too much of it on Twitter of that statement, but that's a bold statement to make.
Hey, Greg, I just want to point out to you, I mean, you talked about not mad, just disappointed. Yeah, I get it. I do want to point out the reason that we didn't get the Trump from 2016 that I think a lot of people were looking for and what they wanted to see, particularly those on social media, because it was going to be meme worthy, was because he's not the one losing right now.
Yeah. And I think Trump actually played it quite well, because if he had come out swinging.
Yep.
Yeah.
On that guy.
He would have been that guy.
Right. Yeah.
And he would have, he has to come out with a kind of gravity, dignity, and calmness. If he loses his cool, then it looks like he's kicking a cat. I mean, he's
a dead cat.
Well, I'm not saying come out and call names and, you're a pig and ugly and all that stuff he did in 2016, but to look directly at him and go, look at, you are not well in the mind. American people, this man is not well in the mind. He's a geriatric. He's making talk directly to him. I thought that, because he did some of that with like Jeb Bush in 2016 and with Ted Cruz, and he would look at him and go, you're not that guy, not necessarily call the names, but no, I think overall he did good, though. I mean, you would hope so. Look I know I make fun of Biden, and I'm not a fan and would never vote for him. And he stands for everything I'm against everything I'm for. But man, there's a little part of me that has some empathy, like compassion, like, dude, this guy, or maybe not, maybe this is his judgment for a life in politics where he was racist and kills babies and does all those things. Then this is his judgment. He gets trotted around, hyped up on drugs. Oh, I'm getting some latency there. And are you guys hearing that or no?
Yeah, I'm hearing it too. Gabe, what is that?
Uh-oh, everyone's
there we go. Echoing. All right, we're back. Robert Bortons is in here, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Bortons, Classical Conversations, the OG who's been supporting us since day one, 7 years ago. My guy, salute to you, brother. Welcome to the conversation. Glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here too, and not on that debate stage.
Oh, come on. That'd be fun for you.
It would be fun.
Robert,
it would be fun. It was very depressing.
Robert, I know what you were saying. I know what you were saying, Robert. You were saying to yourself, and everybody was chanting it where you were, 4 more years. 4 more years. That's what you were saying, right?
Well, I mean, that could be applicable to either of them. But, yeah, apparently the Democrats are in full meltdown mode. You know that the people up top have given the okay for them to replace Joe Biden because everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. Big takeaways, Robert?
We're not putting our best into office.
You talking about for America?
I thought Trump did a really good job. I was concerned about the CNN debate and if they would give him a equal chance, and I thought they were very neutral, so I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. I think who was it at the beginning? Someone at the beginning, just maybe it was Bonson, but or Gabe, one of you guys, but just said, I mean, I'm grateful that Trump will bring people with him who I know are going to be friendly to the Christian faith. I'm grateful for that. Even though that he understands the Christian worldview and is incredibly inconsistent and incoherent in various ways. I'm grateful for that. And at the same time, I do think there's a measure here where you get the leaders you deserve. And that means that a whole bunch of this, what we witnessed is a measure. This is God's judgment. we are under God's judgment, and it is and it's demonstrated, I think, in debates like this where they're not being, neither one of them were held to demonstrate that they're being coherent, that the truth mattered. I know both sides are accusing both sides of lies and lies and lies. Gabe said several times they're playing off of the ignorance and the naivety of the audience, of the people, that we don't know what they're talking about. So he's making these random claims. And then, anyways, all of this, though, is the judgment of God.
Well, the nice thing about living in a republic is you get the leaders you deserve, and the bad thing about living in a republic is you get the leaders that you deserve. And yeah, I mean, I'm a Trump fan. I like his policies better than his personality. I think that he does a good job messaging to the people who are going to be voting. I know pro-lifers aren't super happy with how he answered things, but as far as actually getting pro-life things done, he's actually done it. And of course, a lot of those pro-life organizations, helped him get those things across the goal line. But a lot of them, I mean, I'm an abolitionist. It's murder, but until we get, a sheriff that's willing to arrest people, a jury that's willing to, say they're guilty, and a judge who's willing to put it in court, America is where America is at the moment. So I think we need to continue to push the issue, but ultimately you can't govern if you don't win elections. And, just from watching it, I don't know if Joe Biden lied because I could only understand every third word he said. But
that's true.
In general, I mean, I think what Donald Trump said was, in general, the truth. And, I mean, quite honestly, the left really isn't throwing too much at Trump right now because they are in full panic mode. And, a lot of people, I don't know who they can replace Joe Biden with, who's not Kamala Harris, but Kamala Harris will probably still lose worse than Biden. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what the kingmakers in the Democrat Party try to do going forward.
I want you guys, they're talking right now, I think somebody from the Biden campaign, I just thought this was interesting. I want you guys to check it out.
Desperate for President Biden to give his a performance, and after his performance, it has really set off panic. There was one Democratic congressman I was in touch with who was on Capitol Hill at a watch party with a number of other lawmakers, and that moment early on in the debate where President Biden was talking about the national debt and seemed to lose his train of thought, paused for several seconds, and then gave a confusing answer. He said that when that happened, the entire room was just completely silent and in shock, and that this member's own reaction was that he wanted to jump off of a bridge. And he said that throughout the course of the 90 minutes of the debate, he and the other lawmakers in the room felt like Donald Trump looked young and Joe Biden looked old, and that Donald Trump seemed to mostly be on the offensive, and that Joe Biden seemed to be mostly on the defense. Democrats, he said, are just panicked right now and don't even know what to do. I mean, these are some really devastating reviews for a Biden campaign that really wanted to use tonight to dispel this notion that President Biden is too old for a second term. You and I were just talking about right before the debate how Biden advisors were hoping that for tonight, a lot of Americans would be tuning in and seeing a President Biden that was more than just the 5, 10, 15-second clips that they often see on social media where he does look feeble or older. And now we have another example of the kind of moment that is sure to go viral on social media. The Biden campaign, I should note, is obviously trying to do their best to offer their best spin. You know, they have pointed out moments from the debate that they say, landed better for President Biden on January 6th on the abortion issue. They're also saying that for President Trump, when he was being more vicious and being more personally insulting, that wasn't a good look for him.
Could you guys imagine having to run Biden's social media campaign right now? The text messages you are getting, hurry up, get it posted, get it out there.
Well, and this is what I'm saying is they would.
Oh my goodness.
Normally they would be spinning this, right? They'd be saying that, Trump was a liar, that he was doing X, Y, Z and really attacking him. But they've clearly got a okay from either, former President Obama or someone high up in the Democrat Party to just trash Biden. And, the polling that, just since the indictment of Trump being a quote unquote felon, like Trump has gained 3 points, like in almost every single poll. So they know that this is going south, and if they want to be in power, they're going to have to do something different, or they have to figure out how to stop the bleeding somehow.
Greg,
I would just say very quickly too, let's not forget that CNN is a for-profit organization, and their best 3 years ever in the history as a network was the 3 out of 4 years that Trump was in office. So I wouldn't put it past them to go look at. If our guy doesn't do that well, the best thing that can happen for us is 4 more years of Trump, and we will go right back to what we did from 16 to 20, talk about how the world's going to melt down, how sell fear, sell anti-Trump, and they'll have great ratings, and they'll pull in all kinds of ad money. And I'm conspiratorial enough to believe that it's not past a corporation to go, we can win both ways. We win if he wins, and we win if he loses.
Greg, you're so cynical. I love it, man. I love that about you.
I'm a realist, baby. I'm a realist. I'm cynical.
Pastor,
hey, Neil, our producers, can we bring anybody live that are in the questions and comments, bring them into the show to ask a question?
Yeah, that's a great way to commit suicide. Let's do it. Yeah, we can do it. If we want to put the link out there, we can put the invite link inside of the
comment section.
Yeah, our producers ain't happy about it or thinking about doing it at all. But I will tell you.
Well, who's more unhappy, your producers that you're doing this, or the CNN and Democrat establishment after this debate?
I will tell you, I will be so brutal on whether or not you're going to stay in the conversation or not. So put it in there, guys, and let's get it out there, and we'll
bring in people as we can. And Neil, you'll know I got some people that might be coming in or not. I'm not sure, but you'll know when they come in. Let them in.
I just want you guys to know, have you went to Black Twitter at all? Just wondering. Have you?
How do you get to Black Twitter?
You gotta have the passcodes. There's a secret handshake. Only Knox knows it.
There you go.
Are we allowed?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I'm going to leave that alone.
Knox, I apologize on behalf
of the white delegation. Hey, you know what, Robert? You just became more endeared to me just off of that right there.
Just gonna apologize on behalf of them.
I wonder if you go.
I apologize on behalf of White Boy Summer.
Look, first of all, that is extremely racist. And I'm trying to go for Tan Boy Summer personally.
Boy, you look like you're going for sunburn summer. Talking about over there, dude.
Hey, leave him alone.
Of a watermelon, brother.
Lake Day, first Lake Day of summer is still undefeated.
Hey, Greg, what you mean about the watermelon joke? What you trying to say?
You gotta get that base. Oh, hey now.
I'm just wondering.
You gotta get that base burn.
I've been looking at seriously, hashtag Black Twitter is tripping right now. All of Black Twitter is waiting and wanting to know what a black job is. I knew.
That's what I said.
That's right.
Yo, I knew when he said it, I was like, oh, this is not gonna go well. This is like, I was like, oh no, don't go for it, Biden. It ain't gonna go well. Somebody else said that the list of some black jobs, I'll go first. Person who starts electric slide at the event to keep everybody on beat. Person who has TikTok getting stolen.
That's a job. That's a high paying job.
Definitely not a white job.
No.
Stop it.
Oh my goodness.
On the betting markets, Governor Newsom's chance of becoming the Democrat nominee increased by like 10% during the debate.
The betting market?
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vegas odds probably, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Black Twitter really is.
Can we all agree though that the left's ideology towards minorities is extremely condescending? Like to the point where I almost
unbelievable.
sit through it just as another human being. I go, how can they talk so openly, talk down to a group of people and everyone not just feel cringe? Yet there's people who go for it.
That's the part that I think I'm upset about. I can see folks acting ignorant. What I don't appreciate and what I don't like more than that is that the people are willing to embrace the ignorance at the way that they're acting. Right? That has been almost more disgusting to me. But I think that's kind of, that veil's been removed, and looking at Black Twitter respond and looking at saying, Pastor Toby's on Black Twitter, look at him. He's over there going there.
He's on Black Twitter. He found Black Twitter. He got it. Toby, touch me, Black Twitter.
I will say this. Pastors, it's easy for pastors to get inside of Black Twitter because Black folks and pastors, we have a little thing for pastors. I don't care who you are. It's like, oh, you're a pastor, man of the cloth. Okay, I want the blessings of God. Come on in here. So he probably gonna get in a little easier than everybody else.
Oh my God. He just changed his title to Bishop. It's already taking effect. Bishop Toby something.
Okay, that's hilarious. Pastor, what are you seeing over there? What is it? What are you seeing?
All this, well, what you're talking about, black jobs, like they're going off.
They're going off. And that's what I appreciate right now, because I think there was a moment in time not too long ago where some of that stuff would resonate, but now it's like, whoa, wait a second. Are you really trying to talk to me like that? Like
Well, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of reminds me of the abortion. And if you look at like the polling, like white liberal men have a more extreme position on abortion than white liberal women. Like white liberal women don't think abortion should be into the third trimester, but white liberal men do. And so I wonder on the black jobs type thing, and the black people don't know how to get IDs, or Hispanics don't know how to get IDs.
Don't know how to use a computer.
Like that plays well, not with the African American community or the Hispanic community. It plays well with the white uppity liberal, PhD community. Those who are out of touch with.
Toby, can I put you on the spot and ask you why you think that is? I feel like you'd have a reasonably good idea. Because why do you think liberal men are more extreme on abortion than liberal women? What do you think? I don't know. Or maybe anyone on the chat. I mean, I'm just trying to figure that out biblically or in a worldview. Why would the men be more adverse to another human being in the womb? Is it just because there is no connection there, and you're removing the whole motherly thing altogether? At least liberal women have some type of understanding of, yes, that is I guess men would know it's alive too, but
I just want to.
Why is that?
Can I jump in here first, Pastor, and you can correct everything that I'm saying? Men are very keen on competition. We are very keen on competition. Very, 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 very keen on it. And we know it's like, I remember when my son was born, I was like, I better train this joker right, because he think he heir to the throne. we know the competition is there. And so by the time he turns 13, I'm popping him in his throat to let him know he ain't there yet. You know what I'm saying? But seriously, men are very keen on uprisings and composition because we're designed to be that way for the point of protection. When the moral side of a person is broken, all those things go into reverse of human flourishing.
That's good.
But the idea of competition is clear in our head. Go ahead, Pastor. I'll let you correct everything I just said.
I think that's definitely a player. I think maybe this is what you're getting at, Greg, but I mean, my initial just knee-jerk thought is I think men tend to think more in terms of the principle, and I think we probably would just say, you've just decided, like, if I have the right to terminate this life from conception to birth, then I'm going to take it.
Then I'm going to take it. Yeah.
And I do wonder if at some point, if that maternal instinct is really hard to completely suppress when you've seen the ultrasound pictures, that this baby is viable at 23 weeks or whatever. I would suspect it'd be something like that. Although one other piece I think would be maybe this is another component to what Knox is getting at, is not only are we keen on competition, I think we're also just really lazy. And that's right. The caricature, of like the jokes on the sitcoms is that, the wife wants to get pregnant and the husband doesn't. It's never the other way around. It's never that the husband's like, let's have a baby. So I think there's something there where a man just knows babies are hard work. Children are hard work. That means I have to work harder. I got more bills to pay. And if I get 1 more month or 2 more months where we can nix that mistake or whatever, I think maybe the white liberal guy's willing to do it.
Hey, Gabe, get Joe Rigney up in this joint. Tell Joe Rigney he's got to come in. Because what you just said, Pastor, one of the things I think that Joe Rigney points out is that because of the nature of a woman, she can get played into inviting the wrong things in the same way I think Eve did, right? And so with guys, Adam knew better. Eve really didn't, right? And so you see women getting played because they're like, they want to use that maternal instinct, but because of the flip of morality, they use it the wrong way. Particularly, you see it. Pastor, I went to his Bible. I don't know what I didn't say it. And so you see them do this thing where they apply their maternal instinct in the wrong area or direction because of their the flip of morality. Romans 1 is applied, and so they saying yes. The men who are now women deserve to be heard, deserve to be seen because they're humans and we gotta, and they just flip the whole thing and they let the serpent right inside of the garden, right? Because the maternal instincts are there for that. And guys are supposed to be like, you gotta go.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of abortion happens because the men don't take, the men want it. Like, I don't know the exact statistic, but I think I've seen things like 40% of abortions have happened because the men are pressuring the woman to get one, and the woman would prefer to keep it. But since the man hasn't stepped up, they feel like they're going to be left alone and don't have a way of taking care of the baby, and so they do it. So, I mean, for a man, like you said, it saves us a lot, from a purely, pagan worldview. It's going to save you a lot of money to not have this baby out of wedlock with this woman that you don't really like.
Yeah, that's okay. We got Pastor. You got a Bible verse, but then I'm going to go run to the Iowa Baptist guy. Which, by the way, I just want him to know that he's coming in a very unfriendly environment. But go ahead, Pastor.
I just wanted to underline what you said there about in the garden. I mean, the Bible actually says that Adam was not deceived.
Right.
This is in 1 Timothy chapter 2. Verse 14.
Which makes him worse.
Right. No. So he's responsible, but he did it with his eyes wide open, which again kind of lines up with what you're saying there, Robert, in terms of men being willing to go a lot further. Eyes wide open. Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. She was deceived. Right. She was manipulated. She was lied to. She believed the lies. But Adam wasn't, which makes him worse, makes him culpable. He's the one who's supposed to protect her. And I think that's, where part of the whole mess we're in. Like, how do we get to this place?
Yeah.
This is the pattern all through history. Is there are lies and men refuse to contradict the lies. They refuse to say these things are not true. They refuse to stand up and protect their daughters, their wives, their children. And it goes back to Adam. And we make excuses, right? God says, what happened here? And Adam says, it's the woman you gave me. And so I think, that's one of the places we have to repent as men, is saying we're going to stop living by these lies. We're going to stop listening to these lies. Because I think a whole bunch of men in this country know this about a lot of things. We know we're being lied to. Right. And we are putting up with it because it would be too hard. We say it's too hard. The women won't like us.
That's right, Toby.
All these things, and it's easier for me to just have my job. I got my porn, I got my beer, I got my booze, I got my buds, I got whatever. I can do my thing, and it's easier this way. And I think that's a central part of that's why we're doing our conference in Fort Worth on repentance in October. Prodigal America that we need to repent, and that's what's got to happen.
All right, we got to let a Baptist in here because I think everybody else in here is Presbyterians, and we just want to make sure that we have equality I got to say this to everybody who's waiting right now on the line. If I don't like your question, it's not that it might not be good. I'm going to get rid of you. That's how it's going to be. And
you have the power to boot.
I'm just going to have the power to boot. So we got an Iowa man who's Iowa Baptist. We're going to add him to the conversation. What's up, bro? How you doing? What's your question? I'm going to give you 15 seconds. You got until the timer goes off.
All right. Well, it's well, with an intro like that, there's no time to. All right.
11 seconds.
Good to see you guys. I can't stand whenever these politicians go on there and say worst president in history. It's like you've never heard of Buchanan, you've never heard about the Democrat named Roosevelt. So I want to know your perspective on that. Do you think it's ever too soon to judge a president on being the worst one ever? Which I agree. Yes, Biden is absolutely terrible. Did I get it in on time?
No, you didn't. That's what I was hoping you would hear. You still just didn't.
You could have muted me. Turn off those green lights.
Where's it?
Beep, beep, beep. Greg, you go first.
What was the question? You lost me at Baptist.
Yeah, that usually goes that way. As R.C. Sproul once said, it's now a fair fight.
Oh, don't come in here and start quoting R.C. Sproul.
Oh. I love Sproul.
No,
the question was, I want your opinion on whenever politicians say worst president ever, and it's like they're not even out the door yet.
I think you have to give it some time, but not much though. I think you after a first term, I think you could see it within probably 4, 8, maybe a decade, at least one generation, because you can see if the policies that they enacted, actually take effect. I think for my money, Woodrow Wilson was probably one of the worst presidents we had with what he enacted in turn of the last century. And
come on now,
it's a lasting effect on our country over the last 100 years. But I think you got to give it a little time. I don't think you can do it while he's still in there.
Yeah,
sure.
Valid point.
I agree. FDR is right up there. I think
FDR. Oh gosh,
George Bush Jr. LBJ created a whole new constitution. Abe Lincoln created the federal powers that created the culture that we now have under abortion. I mean, when Biden kills 60 million babies, then maybe we can talk.
Sure.
All right. Hey, what's your name, brother?
My name's Ryan Austin. I'm a pastor of a little church in Northwest Iowa. So if you guys are out this way, come on by, and I doubt anyone would ever come this way. But you're more than welcome to come hang out here.
Wow, ringing endorsement for your area.
Thank you, Pastor.
Come on, Northern Idaho's legit. Come on now.
It is. I love it. I've only been here for 2 years, but everyone's been absolutely wonderful. A lot of the places in my area got flooded out recently, so keep them in your prayers. It's been hard, but yeah.
Well, thanks for the question. That was great.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, brother. Pray for that guy.
Hey man, we gotta get Jeff Fisher in from Maryland.
I know, Jeff.
Our boy Jeff.
What's
He's
up,
been
man?
Patiently waiting. From Maryland.
Jeff,
come on now, what you got for us?
I love you, Jeff, but you still got 15 seconds.
Hey, I got a question for Jeff. Is he going to vote for Joe Hogan for Senate, or is he just going to leave that blank?
You know what? I hate even thinking about pulling the a voting thing for Hogan again. He doesn't pretend to be a Republican. The Republicans are only supporting him because they will give them the counts they need to make decisions on committees and things like that. He'll never vote with them,
Wow.
So they know what they're getting. They're getting an R in a chair, but they're not getting an R in a vote.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that. All right, Jeff, you got 15 seconds.
Jeff, what you're saying, if people are watching and don't understand, is you're saying they can stack the committees that way. So, if you have control, you got 4 Ds and 5 Rs, or 3 D, 3 Rs and 2 D. So that way you stack it, and he doesn't vote for you, but you now have a majority, and under the committee rules, you can do things that you couldn't do without the majority on each individual committee. Correct?
That's right.
All right, Jeff, I don't want to take your time away. Go ahead, Jeff. You got 15 seconds.
No, just wanted to say, from those of us that are a little bit older, and have been watching a lot of things happen politically for many years, and you guys know me, I'm working inside the Beltway. I work with a lot of committees and stuff. What do you think is going to be the play for the Democrats to they've painted Trump the same way over and over and over again. Is there going to be anything new to their story? You know, I know we've talked about them having a different candidate, but is there going to be anything new to the way they're going to paint this?
Oh, man.
I don't know how.
I think the felony conviction is their best attempt. And I think they're trying to throw everything they got at the wall.
It's their best attempt if they want to lose the black vote.
Can I just say though, I don't think they understand that we don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing is like you have done such a poor job in the last 4 years of trying to convince people that you can create human flourishing, that no matter that Trump, however bad you might paint him, we just don't care. We don't want you anymore. And it doesn't matter what racial group you belong to, what environment you're, everybody's saying, we just don't want you anymore. And I think it's part of what the Democrats are seeing. It's part of what they're understanding. And they're trying to say, the mob has turned against us. Let's make sure we're on the side of the mob. And it's undeniable at this point. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to try whatever they can to pull out of their bag. They always do. I mean, so I get it, but I don't think that they understand where people really are. We just don't care.
The hard part with the Democrats is the things that Trump does poorly are things that he's on the left wing ideology side. So, like, you could attack him on COVID. Like, I agree, he did a terrible job with COVID, but the Democrat governors did a worse job with COVID. So, I mean, you don't have any sort of, A/B testing where you can say, Trump was terrible with the economy. I mean, they're trying to say that, and everyone's like, yeah, but there was COVID. Like, we all lived through it. So, like, we understand why the economy was terrible, and we all know that we had the best economy in our lifetime before COVID hit. So the hard part with them is the things that Trump did extremely poorly on are things that they did even more poorly on or things that they generally agree with. So it's hard to attack their own talking points.
Well, last point for me, you guys made the observation that, corporate America figures out how they can win one way or the other. It's certainly true for all the Beltway bandits around here. They give money to both parties. They know they're gonna play out what they need and that they're gonna win either way, in revenue. So I already see that kind of playing out, and including some of the way the budget things are going for big programs, big contracts, big stuff that federal contractors like me go after. So. Be interesting.
Jeff, appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon. We'll see you at this new conference, right?
Are you coming to Prodigal America?
That is a probability. I missed you guys in Kentucky, so yeah, this year's coming back.
Yours one, brother. We'll see you soon.
Alrighty.
I just want to say, I see William Wolf in the lineup. My guy is here. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future Christian Prince himself is going to be talking about.
I just texted William. We should bring William in. Joe, don't worry. We're going to get to you. Hang on one second. Let's get William in the room real quick.
Joe, you look suspicious. I just want you to know I don't trust you. You don't have any facial hair. And anybody who doesn't have facial hair, I feel a little concerned about. So we're going to go with William Wolf here. Unless you're going to go get a wig or something, put on your face, Joe. You might be sitting there for a while.
He needs a beard? He needs a beard to come to the show?
I'm a little concerned. I mean, seriously, I'm a little concerned if he doesn't have a beard. He might be a military guy, so that may be an excuse. William, what's up, baby? How you doing?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Doing well.
Dude, talk to thousands. What do you got for us? Okay, so we just watched the debate. I'm sure you had a chance to watch the debate. What are your first, initial thoughts to the debate?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say that a large chips and guac at Chipotle is $8.20. And the reason I know that is because I went and got Chipotle for me and my father-in-law before this debate started. So I was like, man, the economy is not in a good place right now. How is Biden going to get elected when a large chips and guac is $8.20? And millennials would have to take out a second mortgage to afford that, but millennials don't even have houses anyway. So, yeah, first of all, the economy's in the tank. But, man, look, there's a lot of things I can say about the debate. But, I really do think this is the case. I think they did this on purpose. Right now, so many of the talking points are Democrat Party in shambles, scrambling, reacting to Biden. He can't be on the ticket. Everybody in the news is saying this was a disaster.
Yep.
I think it had to have been set up. They've been managing it this entire time. You don't just manage Biden's cognitive decline, his health issues for 3 years, the way that they've done it with increasing difficulty. Of course, if you saw him in Normandy, and then all of a sudden they get the cocktail wrong, he goes out there and bombs. This is a setup. I think it's going to all play out at the convention. That's where it'll have to happen. They'll get Biden off the ticket, which is what the party wants, which is what the Obamas want, quite frankly. If you've been following any of that backstory, the Obamas never wanted Biden to be president. Michelle Obama, there was a hit piece today saying Michelle Obama's frustrated with him. And so Biden's kind of been an accidental president in many ways because they didn't quite have the right people ready last time up. And so I think this was on purpose. I mean, Trump did fine. I thought he did fine. Obviously, if you watched it without having this background, this idea that I have that was on purpose, you would think Trump just wiped the floor with this, cognitively impaired old man, which is true on one level. But on another level, I think it tells us that somebody else is coming.
Who is it?
So you think, who is it?
Man, now that is a good question. I mean, I think the most obvious answer would probably be someone like Gavin Newsom. I think despite Newsom's radical policies, he's going to be more polished, more presentable. And look, he's also a white man. I mean, that is still going to play better with the electorate. No way around that than Kamala would play, than Michelle Obama would play. So I think it's probably going to be Gavin Newsom, if not him. Maybe Michelle.
Hey,
but my money would be on Gavin.
William, do you underestimate white guilt?
Do I underestimate white guilt? As in, like, Dems not voting for a white guy?
I'm just saying, like, you got Michelle Obama. All of a sudden, we saw conservatives go Obama when he ran.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering, like, do you underestimate just how guilty white folks might feel to run a woman who, I mean, there's intersections, bro. She's woman, she's black. Well, she could be a man. We don't know. And so I'm just saying there's a lot of intersections.
I think actually that's a good point, man. But I would say that I think it would probably be more on the woman side of it than on the black side of it. I'm just not sure I'm not sure if the electorate's ready there yet to elect a woman president. So I think they probably feel safer going with Gavin.
All right. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for stopping in. Always welcome on the show. Keep us posted. Unless you want to just hang around. You want to hang around? I don't know what your time frame is.
Well, I want to say a couple more things. I mean, get to other people, but I'm on.
You do? Okay.
I'll just respectfully disagree that Newsom will be the person. I mean, I think it's Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan because they need the Rust Belt. I think Newsom's not going to play well in the Rust Belt with all of his green energy policies in California. I mean, he's a slick politician, good-looking guy, but I think if the Democrats want any prayer of winning this election, they're going to run Gretchen.
Are you on there, Knox? I can't hear you. Oh, he must have muted himself.
No, I'm still here. Go ahead.
I think the reason why CNN is even talking like this is I just got a hold of a clip of part of Biden's speech tonight that they edited out. Listen to this, you guys. Yeah, so they had to cut that out. I think they are in panic mode.
That's why they had that 2-minute delay.
That 7-minute delay was for Biden.
Yeah, it was for Biden.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna bring Joe in too. Joe, you're just gonna jump in this conversation. Look at Joe, guys. I mean, I don't know if we can trust him.
Dude, this guy is one big smile. Every time I talk to Joe, he's smiling.
He's got a bourbon in his hand. All right, go ahead, Joe. We added one more to the party, 2 more to the party now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, Booker, that stuff's good.
Yeah, this is uncut, unfiltered. Thank you. No, I had my shirt.
Hey, cheers. Hey, you guys know I'm the shameless plug because this is Joe's not coming on for this, but he's one of our supporters. He's one of our corporate partners. He's, so
I got to be careful how I talk to Joe then.
No, you can say whatever.
Okay, Joe.
We can say what we can.
Joe, I just want to say
we can lose his money.
Okay, Joe, I just want to say, could you not drink from the bottle again? That did not make us.
Between my audio drop and
section just blew up.
Which is lowering the standard of this.
We got Baptists here, man. That is.
I was about to say, I trust that's grape juice.
Oh man, so good.
Joe, tell us your response to the debate, Joe. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I was thinking of a couple things in the debate that were inaccurate. My brain's always about taxes and finances because that's where I live and play. In that, coming back to the stimulus plan, the original stimulus that Trump was trying to do was actually no pork. He asked the Congress no pork for the stimulus, but the Congress was all about the power in their pork, and they wanted it included. And so he couldn't get it passed without that. And then Biden saw that, more pork, let's go, and he jumped on that train. And so they both did it. But I just wanted to say the original one he was trying to do, just some money straight to the people who unfortunately got sent home for jobs. On that, and the other thought I was thinking of, y'all were talking earlier about tariffs and et cetera, and that free market economy works really well when you have honorable people.
That's true. Amen.
When you don't have honorable people and you have nations that are hiring and forcing people into slave labor and then therefore shipping these poor quality products on slave labor prices and trying to undercut honorable businesses and drive them out, and then they can move the price back up after they drive out the honorable business. And so it's going to be really careful of, hey, it's just a free economy. We don't live in a world of honorable businessmen.
Yeah.
No, I think.
What do you?
My only pushback with that is, first of all, I think I agree with you 100% that when you don't have a free economy, you really don't have anything to fight with. In a free economy, you don't need to worry about that other side because truly, slave labor only goes so far in making value, right? Free men act differently. Free men create better products. And I think part of our problem is trying to fight China with another form of an enslaved economy.
Well, I agree. Like, I'm not a fan of unions as an example. That's another form of slave economy where we're forcing high prices and low quality products out there. That's another side of the same problem.
Yeah, I agree.
On that. So, getting rid of the unions when you have honorable business owners, right? This is a pet peeve of mine of, hey, Christian business owners need to be excellent. They need to pay their people well. They need to pay on time, provide good benefits, take care of their people. We need to, and this is something that I always talking about with my clients and my business owner friends, we need to redeem the Christian ownership as honorable businessmen.
That's good stuff. I might start trusting you now, man. That was pretty good. You said all that without any facial hair. William?
Yeah, I'll make a point on that. So in China, they enslaved their own people. And in America, we've facilitated and brought in a class of 20 million, 30 million more of illegal immigrants to function as functional slaves for us. And the illegal immigrant workforce in America is the single biggest drag on wages for American citizens. And that obviously Trump is head and shoulders better than Biden on this issue, but Trump didn't do everything he could have done in his first term to address this. He seems to be waking up to the willingness to do more. But if we want to really jumpstart the American economy, we, as they say, have to send them all back. And to speak about honorable businessmen, I mean, that's another huge issue here is American businessmen and corporations have been far more than willing to use essentially a slave labor class of illegal immigrants to keep production prices down. I mean, there certainly will be some economic pain if the economy has to go through the necessary resetting and purging of getting the illegal alien class out of it. But it will be good for us in the long run. It will make us healthier, stronger, freer, and better able to compete on the world stage.
Hey, William, I got to know, because you were in – when Trump was in office, you were in office with him, right? You were doing things there with him as well. What is it that he needs to do differently? Because part of the things that a lot of us expected, and I think he'd be in a different situation if he actually did clean out the swamp, because the swamp right now is cleaning him out. You know what I mean? And so from your perspective, being actually involved in the center of that, what do you think he needs to be doing if he wins again? What does he need to do in his first year?
Okay, I'll try to keep this short. But look, Trump never expected to win. He really didn't. Trump was surprised on election night in 2016.
We all
the man
were.
had The man had zero political experience. I mean, let alone presidential experience. And so, by default, by just the force of the Republican National Committee establishment that came in with him, he was ill prepared to actually fight the swamp, because he soon realized that a lot of the Republicans were the swamp too. Right. And that's who he kind of staffed his first administration with. And maybe he didn't know better. Maybe he should have known better. The whole chief of staff sharing responsibilities between Priebus and Bannon. Then we ended up losing Bannon. So I think it all starts at the top with his key personnel picks, the chief of staff, the person who's going to run the office of presidential management. But I will say the talk is there, and the talk is there differently than it was in the past. The conversation about schedule effing thousands of federal civilian employees and being able to dispense with them who aren't enacting the president's agenda. Project 2025 and what the Heritage Foundation has put together with a much more robust and ready-made policy program targeting all the problem spots. And now that Trump has been burned by the deep state personally for 8 years and increasingly so, I have to say I've got a good degree of cautious optimism that he would go after it in a way that he just didn't know he needed to. And that he didn't know he had to in the first term.
All right. Robert Borden's got to run here in a minute. Robert, I want to give you some last words before you have to go, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think with Project 2025, with what William talked about, I helped work on some of that with the Heritage Foundation. There's lots of big plans in place. I do think that Donald Trump might be impeached about 24 hours into his presidency, because even the Republican, rhinos aren't going to like what he's trying to do with everything. But they're working really hard on putting the legal framework together to do what he wants to do. And I think my sources tell me, about 3 months left in his, right about when the election happens, that we finally know what to do to destroy the deep state. We really just need another term. And, I'm excited about 50% of the federal workforce is going to be fired in about 24 hours. It's going to be glorious, but, they'll definitely attack him very thoroughly. And I think the Republican establishment will not be on our side when that happens.
Since you're going, the last thing I want to ask you before you leave is, where are the never Trumpers right now?
I think the Lincoln Project is still around, but
but they've been molesting kids, so it's kind of hard to remain around. It's kind of hard to remain around when you're molesting children.
Yeah, another one just got caught.
Yeah, mm-hmm. But I think the Never Trumpers are the only ones left defending Biden.
Oh, all right.
That's where they are.
Wow. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Get some sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's midnight here.
Go ahead. Really quick, I would just agree with William, too, and add it's going to be a lame duck presidency. It's his second term if he wins, so he can do a lot more things knowing constitutionally he can't run again. And that's what a lot of people hope for in a second term to begin with, because you're fighting against a deep state. You're not, in this country, I don't even know if you're in charge anymore as president. You've got 200, 300 deep state bureaucracies that can control you, that have dirt on you, that do all these different things. And but second term could be very different. And I would be, same as William said, cautiously optimistic that something will get done about that.
So here's my best take. Okay, Trump did not really drain the swamp in his first 4 years. He did a couple things to drain the swamp, but he really didn't drain the swamp. In fact, the FBI director was appointed from Trump, and that's going after him right now. There's a number of appointments that are actually turned on Trump right now. They didn't really drain the swamp in any significant way.
I agree.
But my best take on Trump is that he was waiting for the last 4 years of his presidency to really do everything that he wanted to do. Now, some people think this Trump was just incompetent in the first 4 years, and repeat that incompetence in the next 4 years. That's hard for me to believe. If you make as much money as Trump, if you've been as successful in the business world as Trump, it's hard to believe that he's incompetent. But my best take is that I think Trump was saving all his chips really for the last 4 years.
William,
yeah, I got a thought on that too. On the first 4 years, and that's well, Trump actually, man, I think this is a positive feature of Trump. Like, Trump actually is a surprisingly humble individual in terms, like, he'll take counsel from people. I mean, kind of one of the things is Trump goes with the last person in the room, right? So to be the last person to get his ear on a decision. But so Trump just got such bad advice from some really top people, from Priebus, from General Kelly, and from others. When things finally started to change, I would say, is when one guy in particular, Russ Vought, got closer and closer to the top. Russ was he was the deputy director of the Office of Management and Budget, and then he was the director after Mick Mulvaney moved on. And the Schedule F and the attacks that Russ took on CRT and wokeness towards the end, that was coming from Russ. And look, Russ, I know, would be in the running to be chief of staff. I've also heard that McCarthy would be, which I think that would be a disaster. So we need the right people around Trump. And I think it will get done because he'll hear that it can get done. He's got to hear from the people, I can do this.
A little pushback there on that, William. I think your analysis is correct. I'm not pushing back on your analysis. But what I want to push back on is the fact that, like, if I won presidency, I already know who my counselors would be. I already know who my Fab Five would be. I wouldn't all of a sudden be getting into the White House and trying to feel my way around the room. I would be very thoughtful about who my, let's say Fab Five are. And it's a little weird that I agree with you. You're the second person that said that line to me today, that Trump listened to the last person he counseled with. He sought counsel from a lot of people, and the last person he talked to was the one who's, he would listen to the most. So you're the second person that literally said that to me today, which is kind of funny. But I mean, if I'm at that level, I should already know who's going to, let's say, carry the weight of my counsel with me. So it's kind of funny. I mean, you're the second person that said that, but it's kind of funny that Trump is maybe operating in that way.
Can I just say something really quick, and maybe William can agree or disagree with me? The only thing I would say with that, Gabe, is also he's walking into a federal government with probably 200 to 300 people that have real power over their departments because it's so big. I was down at the White House in 2017. Trump's administration invited all county commissioners and mayors, and I was selected from Michigan to go. I met with 24 cabinet members, and I was overwhelmed at 24, and every one of them had a story of what they affected. I mean, from where I want internet to go to what farmlands can be farmed. And so you're talking about Trump coming in, you're saying Fab Five. He's dealing with probably 200 people that have some real power over some part of the government. I think that takes some time to change as well, too. And maybe it is firing, but I don't know, William. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, on that's where it's like you're not just having one or two people, particularly when you get the whole cabinet together. You've got sort of these people are supposed to be acting like they're little presidents, right? That's why they're, the Secretary of State. It's supposed to be like the president over here or the Secretary of Defense. It's like the president over there. And so when you get all these people together, then Trump is listening to 15, 20, 25 voices over different policy issues. But this, again, is where the two biggest positions that if he gets in, he can't get wrong are Chief of Staff and the Office of Presidential Personnel, right? Because those are the people that have got to be completely right, all on board, and we need the right people in those positions.
Joe, I know you got to – hold on one second. Joe, I know you need to run, so I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds here before you go, unless you're just ready to salute and go.
No, thank you, guys. Good to talk with you. And Toby, from one OPC kid to another, good to see you. And
that's what's wrong with you.
A fan of Joey Piper to a fan of Joey Piper.
Oh, hey, that's salute, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Y'all take care.
Bye, Joe.
Good talking to you.
Gabe, what were you going to say?
I don't remember anymore.
Good. It probably wasn't that important.
It was probably my best point yet.
I'm sure it was. Pastor, you've been quiet over there and you've had your Bible open in your lap. What you been thinking?
Oh no, I've just been enjoying this. I didn't have it. I'm still at Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived.
This is like a proper exegesis.
That's so good.
You don't skip anything.
You know what?
Toby's like John Calvin after he's been kicked out of Geneva. He comes back, he gets up in his pulpit, and he's like, picking up where I left off.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, guys, I want to say this real quick before we go, because we have so many people watching this right now. This has been to date the most successful live stream we've ever done, with almost 3,600 people viewing at this moment. And so, William, look at you just come running in here and taking on. You just got right in front of the parade and started leading it, didn't you? So I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, who is streaming. This has been fantastic. You guys have allowed us to be able to entertain, enjoy, and complain and whine and then repent all together with you. I do want to say one thing, that we have the conference coming up in October, and this was so good to kind of prep us to think about how we want to continue all of our shows up to the conference. There's 16 things that we laid out, I think, the last show about where areas that we need to repent at in America. And one of the things that wasn't on that list explicitly that I think we really do need to make explicit, because it was the theme, once again, of everything from everybody's party, which was this maternal, paternal aspect of our government. And you get that when there's a void of real fathers. The fatherlessness that is embedded inside of the DNA of our culture right now is one of the areas we really need to repent of. And what I mean by that, fathers who take responsibility. And I know it's hard, because I'm looking at the things right now that they're talking about: Medicaid, Medicare. They're talking about insurance. What you gonna say, Pastor? Child care, insurance. Yeah. All these things are things that are actually in the economy, the home law, the house law. That's our authority. That's our places. And then, Greg, you were talking about men and kind of their failure. Pastor ended up going to expand on their failure to want to take responsibility in the moment around abortion and around taking care of life. It's not just – this is why the abortion is so important. It's not just abortion. It's everything. If we're not going to take responsibility around life, we're not going to take responsibility around the life of our parents. We're not going to take responsibility around the life of the economy of our family, our wives, and our children. We're just going to drop the whole ball. And one of the most major areas we need to repent of is not being good husbands and fathers and men in our society. And it just showed itself so vast in the whole debate. It's like, this is one of the areas that father hunger creates.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Knox.
You know,
this debate was over a competition of who's going to be the good father.
That's right. Who's going to be the best daddy?
Yeah, that's right.
and because William's here, I think this is so important. It's not that I don't think that we should have some sort of political withdrawal. Like, how do we get from here to there? I'm not missing that. I get that. We do need to have some sort of strategy, which is why I'm glad William's here. We do need to have some sort of political strategy that aligns first with our moral objectives, right? So I don't want to say put those two things at odds. But I do want to say, if we don't understand what that is, if we don't understand the real structure and government of the home, then we're always going to give over those responsibilities to somebody else. If it's not the state, it will be the church. And how come the church doesn't do all these things for us and take care of our old folks? It's like, no. You're supposed to be the one doing that stuff. You're responsible for it. So, what were you going to say? Go ahead. Jump in there. Was that Greg?
No, I just saw the 33 and 67. What's that? Flash poll results for CNN tonight. Trump 67, Biden 33%.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. No, Knox, I think you're actually absolutely right, man. I mean, look, it just makes me think, like, I want to lead my family in such a way that no matter what happens on election night, I can look at them and say, we're gonna be fine. Right? First of all, we trust the Lord. Now. Like, we should be aspiring to lead households such that they are insulated from as much as possible from what happens in the world. Now, that gets increasingly difficult depending on where you live, what state you live in. The policies that are being enacted, like, they are coming after our kids, right? They are coming after our guns. They're coming after our Bibles. They're coming after our land. And look, I do like Donald Trump a lot, but I would say that this is, a debate in which there was just a lot of unquestioned assumptions about the role of government. And I would have loved to actually see Trump question that more. I mean, the government has the role to protect us, secure our border. Biden's failing on that, but it's not the job of the government to provide childcare. It's not the job of the government to expand healthcare access, right? But we're at this point in American political liberalization where it's like these things that conservatives 20 years ago would have rejected, the party by and large is accepting now. And look, I'm not necessarily expecting Trump to be a philosophical thought leader on that for us.
Right.
But that is something we need to get back in our political leadership, is really understanding the role. And so in some senses, the concern over the growth of the federal government is because we have a lack of strong fathers in the home. And so we need that. Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
Guys, I'm gonna go around and then we'll end. Go ahead, Pastor. Starting with you.
Okay, this is why the theme of the conference this year is Prodigal America. Where does America need to repent? But the parable of the prodigal son is all about the need of the son to return to the father. We are in the mess that we're in because we have dishonored our fathers. We have rebelled against our fathers, like the prodigal son did. Our founding fathers established a Christian nation, a nation that was self-consciously meant to be a Protestant Christian land of freedom. And we've dishonored them. We've turned our backs on them, but we've turned our backs on them because we've turned our backs on the Father of our Lord Jesus. And so the conference in October, prodigalamerica.com, is where you can go, you can register, you can join us in Fort Worth, Texas. But that's I think we have old men, and again, I agree with William. I'm relatively grateful that we don't have anything worse than Trump, and we actually have a Trump as an option.
Yeah.
But we do have men that are vying for fatherhood in our country. And I think the fact that they did not question, neither of them questioned the role of government in raising children, caring for our parents, work, jobs, these kind of things. That is a representation of where we are in our land as a culture, as a people. And so I'm grateful that God gives us maybe stopgap measures and better than we deserve. I think we absolutely deserve more Biden. We absolutely deserve that. And if God were to give us Trump, I would consider that a relative reprieve. But nevertheless, I think we have to recognize that we have the government vying to be our father because we have failed to honor our fathers and be the kind of men and fathers that we need to be for our families and our churches and our communities.
Greg?
Oh, man, that's good. All I have to say is, guys, thanks so much for allowing me to sit in with you. And for those listening, I'll tell you a quick story. A couple days ago, my son said to me jokingly, "Hey, Dad, 180 days until Christmas." And I said, "No, it's about 120. And he said, "No, 180. I said, "No, 120. Christmas comes for me on October 31st through November 2nd. Okay. So October 31st, November 2nd. If you're listening on this live stream right now, Prodigal America, get to the conference. Every conference I've been to, which is all of them, have been amazing. This one's going to be even better. And I can feel it. I can tell the speaker, the lineup. You guys got to go buy your tickets. I don't care if you're flying out, okay? Go put it on a credit card. We'll figure out how to get rid of that debt after you get to the conference, okay? Because we got playmakers there, baby. We got people who move and shake and build things. It's going to be amazing. You guys are the best. Thanks for letting me be here tonight.
No wonder why America's in such a problem. Everybody's putting it on a credit card. Well, what are you talking about, Greg? What are you doing? Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, he said pay it back.
I know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out,
man. We got people that can figure it out.
That's true. Gabe?
Psalm 20. So we've been talking a lot about Prodigal America and this debate. And Psalm 20 is a psalm that means a lot more to me from 2020. As you guys know, if you guys remember, or if you guys recall, if you guys seen the video, I was arrested in COVID during for not masking, for not social distancing, for my church singing psalms in public during COVID. And Psalm 20 was the psalm we were singing when I was arrested. And it's forever embedded in my mind in a whole new way.
Yeah, mine too.
Some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but we trust in the Lord our God. That's why we're doing Prodigal America days before the election's November 3rd, 4th, 5th. November 5th. Our conference is October 31st and November 2nd. It is imperative that the church stop giving in to all this fever pitch presidential elections that we're going through right now. I'm sorry. One of the guys I was texting with was Tucker Carlson, and Tucker, I was trying to get him on the show.
You're going to pick that up? You just a name drop?
I was trying to get Tucker on the show. He's watching the debate right now, and he just texted me. He said, I'm in Sydney and catching up now. It's shocking. Let me see if I can get him just come in for the last 2 minutes. And hang on real quick. I got some thoughts I want to finish with here.
Is this really happening right now?
Hang on. I got some thoughts I want to finish with here. Don't interrupt me.
Oh, no, we're just on a live stream with almost 4,000 people, but go ahead.
Yeah, hang on there.
Take your time. I mean, it's not like they have anything else to watch.
Let's see.
You're fine, William, unless you want to go.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm having fun.
He's like, Tucker's coming. I'm chilling. Cool.
You're our token Baptist.
So let me finish here.
But not transgender.
You did not cause it. Not your type of Baptist. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's where America's been deceived. We think of America as that the real game is with Christ. The real game is following Christ, being faithful in little, picking up your cross, following him. That's the real game. And in some sense, and I don't want to take away from what God's doing through our presidential elections, but in some sense, the presidential election is like gambling in the middle of halftime at the football game. It's like gambling in the middle of the real game that's going on. The real game is, are you following the Christ? The real game is, are you being the father to your children in such a way where be damned with this paternal presidential debate that we just watched. We just watched a debate where it was a competition over taking over your fatherhood and your family. What did they? I wrote all this down, and we talked about it earlier. I wrote all this down. The paternal presidential debate that we just watched, where they debated about the environment. They debated about COVID. Whose job is that? That's dad's job. They debated about insulin. They debated about Social Security. Whose job is that? This goes back to Toby's point. Honor your mother and father. It's your job to take care of your mom and dad who are, retiring or going into the next stage of their life. It's mom and dad. It's your job to do that as a son to his father. They debated childcare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yep. The president of the United States debated with the past presidents of the United States. Who should take care of your children? This should be a wake-up call to fathers across the nation to amplify your responsibility and to tell the government, back off. I'm the father of my family. I'm the father of my children. I'm the head of my household. Get out of here. But it's because for a century and a half, we've been slowly drinking the Kool-Aid of passing off our fatherhood to the President of the United States. And it started in the 1830s and 1840s and 1850s with public education, where mom and dad, and I pin the main responsibility on dad, where dad would send his kids to public school. I was just on Kevin Freeman's show from the Economic War Room on the Blaze this morning. That show should be dropping next couple weeks or so. And one of the things I mapped out with Kevin was the co-opting, the taking, the stealing away the discipleship of our kids by the public school system. And that happened slowly over the last 150 years. Mom and dad get about 2,000, 3,000 hours with the kids, kind of in that K through 12 at home at night kind of hours. The hours that they're in school, the 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. ends up being about 16,000 hours. Who's the father of that household? It ain't you. It ain't you. You're sideshow Bob in that scenario. You get 2,000 to 3,000 hours with your kids at home at night and in the morning and on the weekends. And public education gets 16,000 hours of your kids. I mean, just the time alone should demonstrate to you that you've abdicated your responsibility as a father to your kids. And this is essentially this debate was so striking. I mean, this is something I haven't really picked up on before. We've talked about the motherhood of our government. We've talked about the motherhood nature of social services and all that stuff. But one thing that struck me so much tonight watching this debate was that this really is a fight over the patriarchy. Like, it's not if there's going to be a patriarchy or not. Like right now, the liberals are going crazy on the internet. I tweeted out this last week on Twitter that household voting is the way. And the liberals came after me. You go to my Twitter thread, the liberals are all over me because I said household voting is the way. And they're saying, oh, you're the patriarchy and all that stuff. It's not if there's going to be patriarchy. It's who's going to be the patriarch. Is it going to be President Biden? Is it going to be President Trump? Or is it going to be you as dad, as father of your household? This next Sunday, I'm down in Texas. I'm preaching at Church of the Triumphant King here down in Texas, and I'm preaching on Ephesians chapter 2. And one of the things that's striking about Ephesians chapter 2 is two things that really stick out to me. One is how multiple times in chapter 2, verses 1 through 10, Paul repeats how rich God is towards us. Paul repeats how we are saved by grace. And just these short, it's a long sentence actually. Verses 1 through 10 is actually a long sentence. There's no period in what Paul's saying. So he repeats himself. God is rich towards us. God is gracious towards us. We're saved by grace through faith. And the last thing is that we were dead in trespasses and sins. And God raised us to life. And what's crazy about that verse, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 1, what's crazy about that verse, it's not a metaphor. We talk about how Christ and Adam are like this metaphor, and there's a real metaphor there. And, Christ is the new Adam, and in Adam we all died, and we all died a spiritual death, and then we eventually all die a physical death. But what's happening, and this is where the gospel is so beautiful, is that being raised in Christ is not a metaphor. We died, we were dead in trespasses and sins. What happens when you're dead in trespasses and sins? Nothing. You can't do anything. You can't contribute anything to that. What happens when you're raised again? You can't contribute anything to that. You can't raise yourself from the dead. Jesus, that's what richness is. That's what Jesus is saying. That's what Paul's saying in chapter 2. He's saying rich. God is rich towards us. God is gracious towards us. And it's because he raised us from the dead. And the only way we can reclaim our patriarchy, our fatherhood, that the government is actively, obviously trying to take from us, is we have to, bow our knee before Christ and recognize that he raised us from the dead, and it wasn't, and is not of works. We didn't contribute anything to this. We're dead. We didn't contribute anything to this resurrection. It's crazy that we have Arminians in our midst. It's crazy that we think we contribute to, some sort of aspect of this life of being raised from the dead. That's why Paul repeated multiple times that you're rich. You're rich. God is rich, and he gave all his richness to you, and that you're saved by grace through faith. This debate actually, I think, woke me up in a different way, just kind of watching through it and actually analyzing it with you guys, that this is a battle over the patriarchy. It's not if there's going to be a patriarch or not, it's which. And I'm glad that Jesus is the head of the church, that he's the ultimate patriarchy, and that he raises from the dead. And it changes everything about this world. I've said this before on CrossPolitic, on our show, and I still don't think I fully grasp the full meaning of this, but we're on the sunny side of the cross. We're on the sunny side. We're not on the dark side of the cross. We're on the sunny side of the cross. I don't think we understand how cataclysmic the death and resurrection of Jesus was. The principalities and powers in the Old Testament ruled the world. It really says that Satan was the prince of the world, that Satan was the prince of the air. It says that in Ephesians chapter 2. And that when Satan tricked Eve and got Adam to sin against God, that Satan somehow, some way, I can't quite explain it all, but became the prince. He became the ruler of this earth. And I think Satan over time had all these powers. He had amassed all these powers over all these nations. He couldn't fully overtake Israel, even though Israel was very bad. That all this demon possession started happening around the time of Christ because Christ had come. You didn't really hear much about demon possession before the Gospels. But what had happened in Christ is that Jesus had been taking away powers from Satan, and that the powers were broad under Satan. And then as Christ came, all Satan's play was to take over individuals. That was all his play. He could only take over individuals. And then when Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead, he bound Satan in such a way that he'll never have the same powers that he had before Christ. I know I'm going on a little bit, but I think what is going on in this debate is directly applicable to the fact that Jesus is the head of the church, that Jesus is our husband, that Jesus is the patriarchy, and that has everything to do with fathers who need to repent of their sin and reclaim the gift of being a father to their kids. And when that happens, and that happens in a real way, and if that happens across the nation, like this is Reformation Revival, if that happens across the nation, the government would actually, in the end, have no power over you.
Amen.
That's what it means. Like if all the fathers across the nation repented, what does the government have on you? Nothing. Toby, it looks like you've been kind of flipping through some things.
Before Pastor Toby jumps in here, I just got to say, you got to get you a homie, a bro, a dog that looks at you the way that Pastor Toby was looking at Gabe that whole time. Pastor Toby was smiling up something else. I was smiling because Pastor Toby was like, yes, yeah. The whole time. You should have seen your face, Pastor. It was amazing. Yeah, preach it, yes.
You know, for a second, though, I was worried Toby had pulled a Biden on us because it looked like his face was frozen.
I know, right?
Yeah, well, we can understand him still.
That's good stuff, Gabe, and I'm grateful that you get to preach that this Lord's Day, and let it fly, man. I was thinking written in chapter 3 of Ephesians, so right after what you're talking about, Paul says, "For this reason I bow my knee to the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom all fatherhood in heaven and on earth is named."
Yeah.
Wow.
He bows his knee to the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, because all fatherhood in heaven and on earth is named after God the Father. That's Ephesians 3:14 and 15. And that's exactly what you're getting at. So there is a way in which the prophets say that civil magistrates, godly civil magistrates, are like nursing fathers and mothers. When they do their job in the right way, they can actually be a good kind of father. Just like pastors who do their job in the right way can be a kind of father. Paul will say that as well. He wishes, you have a lot of teachers, but I wish you had more fathers in the faith. And biological fathers are the kind of fathers who, when they bow the knee to the Father of the Lord Jesus, are faithful fathers in their homes. But if you don't have God the Father as the head, if you don't have God the Father as the head patriarch, then all the other patriarchies, they become toxic. Absolutely. And so we have a toxic civil patriarchy right now, in a bloated Jabba the Hutt state, just like we had a toxic, bloated church patriarchy in the Roman Catholic Church before the Protestant Reformation. And so we need a reformation of fatherhood. We need a reformation of patriarchy. And the only way we get that is if we return to the Father, in whom all fatherhood in heaven and earth is named.
Amen.
William, I'll give you last words, and I don't think there's much I need to say, but just as a wrapping up, you got 30 seconds.
Well, yeah, guys, thank you for the biblical theology there. I just would remind everybody that we witnessed the historical debate tonight, right? We watched the worst debate performance by an incumbent U.S. president, I think, in American history, at making everybody ask the question, who's really been running the show for the last 3 years and who is going to be running the show going forward? Because it's probably not going to be the guy we saw on the stage tonight. A lot of questions to deal with. And one little twist I put on that touches on what you were just talking about is the federal government, in whatever patriarchal role it does have, is failing in it. It's failing in its masculine roles to protect our citizens, to protect our country, to provide the space for families to flourish. Instead, it's taking on this toxic, bloated, increasingly matriarchal role. It's almost like a transgender government where it's like a man who's become a woman and failing on all fronts. So I think great biblical applications there, brothers, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, William.
Wow, what a great night. Appreciate it. Thanks.
I want to add
no, bro,
one thing.
No, you don't talk so much tonight.
We got to thank our staff. We got to thank our staff for staying up late, for orchestrating all this, our producers.
Gabe, you know I was going to do that, right?
Okay.
No, that's okay. What were you saying about our staff? Keep talking.
Close it out.
I think we have some of the best staff in all of Podcastum. They were here early, getting things done, put together a great show, got the tech working. We didn't get shut down like we thought, but they had backup plans for that. And they just produced a great show and made everything run flawlessly. And this is one of the few times where we're not all in the same room together, so it's even more complicated to work something like that, and they did a great job.
Right.
So thank you guys. Thanks for the CrossPolitic staff. Appreciate you guys and for staying here late tonight too. And everybody listening, thank you very much. If you want to get more of this kind of stuff, we do a show 5 days a week. CrossPolitic.com. Go find the CrossPolitic podcast, download it. And there's a whole network of guys that are talking about Christianity, politics, and how does God's law apply so we can have a biblical worldview, not just a secular world, one that has everlasting, eternal consequences that don't ever change no matter what time and season that we are in. So we know God's law is going to be consistent all the way through. So if you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, close your ears there. Go baptize them. Maybe open them, actually. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic.
Falling apart. And as it crumbles, a void is open.
All right. Thanks, guys.
A void that we intend to fill. The big legacy news networks currently average just 1.2 million viewers a weeknight. And those numbers are only going to get lower. Legacy media is dying. And the younger generation has moved on. Legacy media panders. Legacy media lies. Legacy media does not know what the truth is. And they don't care about it. Legacy media is a dumpster fire. This is why we few in our wild imaginations have started the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Our goal is to take down the legacy media giant of the last 50 years with our 5 stones. We started in 2016 with our flagship show, CrossPolitic. Since those small beginnings, we now air on DirecTV. Our broader podcast network now gets over 4 million downloads a year. And our Fight Laugh Feast pub, which includes TV shows like This America, The Rowdy Christian's Guide, Pastors in Politics, and As the Lord Pleases, with your support, many more to come. Our goal is to become the flagship new media 2.0 network over the next 50 years and take over nightly news, sports, sitcoms, hunting shows, and more. All conveniently stored for you in our Fight, Laugh, Feast pub. We're already reaching the next generation through our podcast shows on YouTube, X, and our pub, while also tapping into legacy media audiences by airing our shows on TV through DirecTV and Xfinity. We have made a lot of progress with some duct tape and a good bit of intuition and a lot of sweat. And now we need your support more than ever. The TV networks have had such a negative impact on our households, and we're trying, by the grace of God, to put a stop to that. We have the opportunity. We just need the army. Now more than ever, we need you to join our pub to help us reach our goal of 1 million pub supporters in the next 5 years. There's no way around it. Competing with Fox and the Alphabet networks without money is virtually impossible. It's cheap for you to join. And when you do, you're combining your small monthly support with a growing army of like-minded Christians. We have thousands. We need millions. So if you want more of the Alphabet network's misinformation and lies, don't join. But if you want to give us a mere 5 stones, then please join the pub, and together we will take a swing at the head of big media, all the while fighting, laughing, and feasting to the glory of God.